All right, we're back again. This is John.
And it's Eric.
All right, we let Paul go because he's got in-laws coming in. So this one's going to be, well, I guess we could just preface this with it is August 13th, Tuesday. We've recorded 2 episodes of like a multi-series. This became a clusterfuck tonight.
Yeah.
It was bad. I think maybe because I'm not feeling good.
2 episodes have turned into 4, essentially, is what happened.
We started out with our official 40th episode, so happy anniversary. And that will drop tomorrow. And then we started with the worst and best of the decade for movies. And because we're close to the end of the year, we figure we'll have fun with that and kind of tangent on it later on in the year. And we wound up going through the worst, and we hit an hour. So we're like, well, fuck it. We'll just do another one next week. So next Tuesday, we're going to get with Paul and do the best of the decade, and then we're going to go into whatever else we record. So the original plan was to do all of that in like one episode. And then Paul was going to go home because he's got to get ready for his in-laws. And then Eric and I were going to record this episode. So congratulations. We are now literally on our 4th fucking episode for the night. And thank God I'm off tomorrow. This is getting bad. I'm already fighting a cold and whatever. It's cool. Even Eric was like, do you really want to still do this? I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, because this is the one we've been looking for.
Yeah, so we're going to keep this one from our fans, whoever they might be. I'm sure there's some.
For a little while.
For probably a week or 2. We want to time the release of this closer to Galaxy's Edge opening in Disney
World, Florida.
Yeah.
Because it's already opened in California. It opened back in May, right?
Hmm?
May?
So the preface for this, I guess, we probably should start with that, but
yeah, we're always asked backwards.
Yeah, I went to the Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, which is open to the public already. I went to that one, and at basically the same time, John went to the Galaxy's Edge in Disney World, but he went to the special cast member only preview because he's much cooler than me.
Yeah. Yes, I've got family that works at Disney, so it came down to, my daughter works for Disney, and it came down to her about a week or 2 weeks before asking my wife, should I take you or John to this thing? And my wife looked at her and said, he has a fucking podcast that he talks about all this shit. Who do you think you should take? So, yeah. So we went. And it was cool. We had a fun bonding night. It was, unlike yours, the cast member thing is a 4-hour slot that you go. And we were last Monday from 5 to 9.
Yeah. So I think before we go on, it's important to note that I went to what was the public available opening, and I went in the morning, and I spent several hours there, and then at night I went back. And John didn't have the advantage of being able to do that. He had to go for a certain set time period. Yeah. Beyond that, I went with the general public to one that's been open for a few months, and they've already got some ideas about what works and what doesn't, and they've sort of implemented controls that they don't have at Disney World yet, or at least not for the cast members. So I think what we've decided, though, between us in talking is that 98% of it is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so there are very minor details that are different. And originally we had thought, we'd each do our own blog post about this and talk about all the differences. There really aren't any, or not any worth talking about in a blog post, I guess.
Right.
So, we'll leave those minor differences for just John and I are going to do one blog post together where we talk about it. And since so much is the same, I think where there's a few minor detail differences, well, we'll just talk about them, just like we're going to talk about them tonight. But
and I've got a creative writing kind of version of something in my head for how we're going to do it, and Eric thinks it's cool. So check it out. I think it's going to be fun. You'll like it.
Yeah, so the blog post will probably be up before this podcast. It may be up before this podcast. But either way, if you're listening to the podcast and there isn't a blog post, it's coming. If you're listening to the podcast and you go to our website and you just search Galaxy's Edge or Star Wars, you're going to see it at the top, I'm sure. So if it's already posted, it'll be easy to find.
So don't forget, just either way, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't already been there, go to www.whatifgeeks.com. You can see all the awesome work Eric does and shows us up on a regular basis. All right, so
All right, so then
let's get into Galaxy's
Yeah,
Edge.
let's get into it, and let's put a disclaimer up front. We're probably going to spoil some shit for you. If you want to go there and be super surprised, we'll try to warn you, but you might not want to listen to this thing arbitrarily, and you may want to pay attention for those spoiler warnings because it's going to be hard to not talk about it. I'm going to
vaguely try to remember, but I'm already on like some cold medication, and I'm drinking because I'm an asshole. So the two together are probably not going to let me like warn anybody for any kind of spoilers.
Yeah. So and unless you're like an incredibly audible person, there's obviously going to be no pictures on this talking. So if you go to the blog post, you're going to see a ton of pictures that we took at the parks, and those are, for me anyway, would be more spoilers than just John and I talking about it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where you get your spoilers, is the website if you want, and you can just listen to us safely. I think the only thing, and we'll give a warning, is the lightsaber experience. If you want to experience it, it's a thing you got to experience, and we'll warn you before we start talking about it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for that much, I will say it's something that if you're that deep into Star Wars that you're listening to us, you might want to pause it or just put a pin in the
Let's just do that last. Let's just do that last, and we'll warn them beforehand, and they can cut out if they don't want to hear about it.
Now, so on the note of doing things like front or last, I kind of want to lead into how you get into the entire scenario, but I know I've already touched on our 40th episode. My one joke of the park, because I wanted Paul to be a part of it, was my encounter with Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
I think it bears repeating, but I don't know where I should kind of drop that in there. So, do you think?
I have a perfect moment for it.
Okay,
and we'll get to that.
Yeah, that'll be you.
Let's do sort of first impressions, right? So, for me, and I'm just talking about that minute you sort of walk down the path to that entrance and you pass through it, and you said, I said, holy shit, this is fucking perfect. So that moment. So if you're like a lifelong Star Wars fan, and I think it's worth saying that even if you're a fan of the original movies and you've never seen the current sequel 7, 8, 9 stuff, you will appreciate this. There are elements everywhere that will be familiar to you.
Yeah.
There are stormtroopers. There are I'm just going to say Tatooine-esque elements all over the place. There are familiar characters all over the place. You're going to see ships,
Okay, well, now take it back one step. When they made this world, the world is Batuu.
Yeah.
It's a world you haven't seen yet, right?
Yeah. So,
but Black Spire, depending on how deep you are in the lore, you've seen it.
Yeah.
But the world Batuu,
so
they created just for the parks.
Nobody has seen this on screen ever.
Right.
Okay, and there are elements that are borrowed from screen things, but nobody's ever seen this place.
Yeah.
And I think bravo to Disney for doing it this way, because you could have tried to rebuild a Tatooine or a Dantooine or something, and you could have tried to look for that seedy element. And I read an interesting blog post the other day, and it was specifically about Batuu. It was specifically about Batuu and why pick Batuu. And, it said all these things you could have picked from the Star Wars movies. Actually, every one of them is like an extreme shitty environment that wouldn't have made sense, right? So you could say Hoth. That is iconic. Everybody would recognize it. Hoth would be great. Your two parks are in California and Orlando. How the fuck do you do Hoth?
Recreate? Yeah.
The only way you do it is you wreck it like they did with Blizzard Beach. Water park, right? And it's like, okay,
so
I mean, Blizzard Beach in 90-degree weather, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah. And so that would have wrecked that. And then say, okay, well, you could do maybe a Tatooine. You could. But in Florida, it fucking rains all the time. Well, at least for 4 or 5 months out of the year, right? And that would sort of wreck a desert theme. You wouldn't really be able to do it. And then you could say, oh, what about indoor? Okay, so we could grow giant trees that were 300 feet tall, but then they'd be visible from other parts of the park, and you'd have to find some way to hide them all. And again, your theme element would have been Ewoks that don't speak English and you can't really talk to, and you got to hire a bunch of midgets to do the stuff in the park. I don't know. So I don't think that would have worked either. So, and then the last one is the Death Star. The Death Star would have been maybe something they could have built a land out of. Maybe. You could have done some weird internal walking down hallways, and they've done a bit of that in this park for one of the rides. But I don't know if it really would have been that iconic and lovable because...
Yeah, but at the end of your visit, you get blown up. There's no
that's
return
the Empire.
people.
That's the Empire, right? Who gives a shit? Ultimately. So I think inventing a new spot was the right thing to do. And
I agree.
And the way that they've done it, so they've taken something that's sort of what do you call this? Extra canon? I don't know. I mean, it's not unofficial, but there's not been any movies on it. There's not been any
thing with Disney where they like.
There's been a book. There's been a book about Batu.
When Disney bought Lucasfilm, then they made everything Legends and whatever. So there's all this shit, and they kind of handpick. And we've talked about this time and time again. They handpick what they want for their shit. Batu, at least the Black Spire part, comes up in some of their canon. So you do have a connection.
Yeah.
And then all they did was they took that and they combined it with mostly the current trilogy.
Yep.
Which makes sense. So we can get, well, I'll just do my part of that now and then we can get into it later if you want. But the reason they're doing the current trilogy is because, well, they're trying to appeal to younger fans.
Yeah.
They have enough there for the older fans.
And there's a movie franchise they have to promote too.
Right.
I mean, I think it's
so
two
for
part.
the people that are complaining, like, oh, you know, there's all this iconic stuff that they don't really touch, but it's harder to do like for these older people that love Luke and Han and Leia, whatever. You can't just have actors come out and do those. You can have Rey running around there because the kids know Rey and they're like, oh, okay. Like even I saw Rey and I paused for a second, like, oh shit, you know, there's Rey. But had you done that with like Han Solo or Luke, me being 44 years old, I would have went, he kind of looks like him. You know what I mean? I go,
yeah.
So the Rey part, it's funny too because I love this shit, but the Rey like just hit me like, oh, okay, there's Rey. But had you done that with the older characters, the adult in me would have come out and been like, you know. So I get that. And to your point of they have a current trilogy, they want you immersed in the current storyline, or at least a progressive storyline. What happened before, and it's there. You see it, you hear it, you talk about it, but they're immersing you in what's going on right now. So for that, as far as like the naysayers on that end, I tell them to piss off.
I'm with you, and I'm probably repeating myself because I forgot what I said on air or not. But there are certainly elements. If you don't like the films that are out now, which I'm not a huge fan of them, I'm much preferred. For me, it was 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and now 7, 8, 9, fine. That was my order of preference.
I'm a little bit different. Yeah.
So we don't share that. But for me, even walking into that, even not liking 7, 8 that much. I'm not saying I hate them. Please don't get me wrong here. But even not liking them that much, there's so many familiar elements, even from 4, 5, 6, that you can look at and immediately connect with. Fucking brilliant. And they did this in the movies too. Don't get me wrong. They did that on purpose in the movies to bring in things like Millennium Falcon, like Princess Leia, to draw the stories together. Yeah. You know, so they did that. But they've done that as well in the land. So they've based it on the most recent trilogy, but
there's enough
they've
lore.
Integrated all of the other pieces.
Yeah, and some of it is in your face, and some of it is subtle.
Yeah,
where
some of it is super subtle.
Yeah, when you catch it, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's dumb shit. Like, not dumb, because it's not dumb, but like simple things that you wouldn't think of, and you're like, I see what they just did, and it's funny, you know, or it's cool, whatever.
So I think I want to continue, before we get into the characters, which I want to talk about a little more, I want to talk about the immersion thing you were mentioning. So this is the first, I'm saying first, but it's actually probably technically the second, but first land where Disney has done complete immersion. So you could argue that the Toy Story land was completely themed around Toy Story, and they did the restaurants in Toy Story, and there's Toy Story characters, and there's Toy Story rides. I can show you the difference. Yeah, but I'll say a few things about that. One, they didn't go full blown. If there's a janitor picking up trash, he's just a guy picking up trash in Toy Story land. In the Star Wars world, he's a motherfucking character.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk to you like he's a fucking character. Yeah. And it's something that hit me right off the bat when I went into this place.
You are on Batu.
Yeah. Period. Everything. Every trash can is themed. Every fucking light is themed.
I'm going to get into that because can I pause you for one second?
Yeah.
Only because it leads into what we're doing right now. When Jesse and I, my daughter, showed up at the park, it's over in Hollywood Studios here. When we showed up there to the parking lot, parked pretty close, we were in walking distance. But literally, like, you can see over the other side of the park, lightning striking down, right? And it was supposed to be like 30% chance of rain that day. And we both went, shit. By the time I parked and I looked, it was starting to come down. I looked at my phone and it said 80%. And I said, yeah, no shit. Right? So, like, all right, well, we were way, way early because we didn't know what to expect, for the cast member thing. So, like, we're way early. Like, we were, like, almost an hour early. So, like, we're in the parking lot, we'll chill. So we waited for, like, a good 30 minutes. And enough of the storm passed to where I can kind of see some sun over that way, because it's Florida and yay. So I was like, all right, what do you think? And she said, yeah, let's go, because she works over at Mine Train, so she's also got an idea for like watching storms go over these parks all day long. So she's like, yeah, it's raining, but it's not really raining that bad, so we can kind of basically walk it and not get too bad. So we walked it, we got kind of wet, and then went into the park. So already we're walking into it with I don't know how good this is going to be mentality, because I'm getting pissed on already.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it's going to stop, because I'm looking at the radar, and weather in Florida, radar really doesn't mean much. So, maybe. So we get in, we get all set up, and we start walking through the back of Hollywood Studios, and then we see they're waving us to that area where they've got it kind of behind. It's behind the Star Tours in Hollywood Studios. You go back that way, and then there's some shrubs and shit there, and there's a few cast members standing there, and they're waving at you like, they know you're there for that. So you go into the cast member thing, and you go back there, and when you get through past them, there's like a cave kind of entrance. Was it the same in California?
Yeah, so there's a red rock sort of wall with like a... it looks maybe a little bit like a mine train or something. It's got some wood around it, and then you walk in, and then the lights change into something really weird, and there's like rock formations, and it looks sort of desert rock, like maybe something you'd see in Utah or something. New Mexico, I don't know.
Yeah, but and then you go through that,
and you pass through that tunnel, and you're suddenly in a different place.
And it's funny because I was too busy looking at what was going on around me as I walked through. I didn't notice it until I came back out at the end of the night, right? Mm-hmm. When I came back out, and then I saw those same tree or little basket of shrubs and shit that I walked past, that I couldn't hear either park in the other one. No.
So I read a great blog post about this, and if it remains, I've actually got a short little video from I think his name is Zolth, the Imagineer that sort of was in charge of building all this. Yeah. And so that was a big part of what they wanted to do, was completely isolate it. Like, you don't see Star Wars before you go in, and you don't see anything else before you go out. Like, you are literally in a different world, and everything you see is going to be part of that immersion. And so the two parks are different, right? In the sense that where Star Wars Land, where the Galaxy's Edge land is built, is not the same, because the two parks are very different outside of this. But like on one, which is the Disney World one, they've decided, well, we've got to make these huge spires stick out of the sky. Yeah. So they're going to be visible from somewhere. But how do you do it? There. Right.
The only time you can see them is from the Slinky Dog ride in Toy Story.
So what they decided is the two rides that you could actually see those spires from, they'd make it part of the backdrop, and you'd only see a non-Star Wars thing in the background that fit what you're doing. And then when you're inside Star Wars, you can see nothing. The walls are 30, 40 feet high in some areas.
It's ridiculous how much thought they put into this.
Yeah, you can't see anything out of it, and it's all part of bringing you into that scene.
And I'm glad I picked up on it. I'm glad you confirmed it.
Even the entryway was... it it was like a double fuck walking through it, because you do that initial pass through the archway, but then you're just on a pathway, but then you're walking towards something that is, it's muted, but it's undeniably Star Wars, right? Like there's another wall coming up, and it's not a rock wall, it's a structure, and it has some, what do you call those things? Nernies and Greebles or whatever they call them. But it has these unimportant elements that make it feel like it's some weird Star Wars thing. But as
you're going in, you feel...
And then you start to hear it.
And you start to hear a theme music as you're going in. And then all of a sudden you see an A-Wing.
Yep.
And it's fucking ridiculous. There's an A-Wing, and all of a sudden there's an X-Wing over here.
Oh, so it's worth noting, too, at this point, there are 2 entrances at Disneyland. I think there's 2 at Disney World.
I only found the one, but okay, yeah.
So at Disneyland, there was one like on the southwest side of the park, and there was another one on the southeast side. And if you entered in the southwest side, you came into sort of that forested area that had the X-Wing and the A-Wing and the someday to be opened Rise of the Resistance ride.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, and so you have the very Resistance elements on that side before you hit the Batuu area. And then if you entered on the southeast side, which, by the way, I did one of these at day and one of these at night, so the experience might have been different than intended, but it felt very... When I walked in the Resistance side, which was actually at night, that was the second one I did, I thought, oh, holy shit, this is completely different. I almost feel like I'm on Forest Moon Indoor or something. But then there's X-Wings and there's A-Wings and there's other things. It starts to feel like, oh, actually, no, I'm walking to Tatooine. I'm walking to Tatooine right now. And that was part of the Batuu lore. Actually, everything that looks like a rock on Batuu is actually a petrified tree. It was a petrified forest. Yeah. All right. So it's at least believable that there's a forest coming before you get to the petrified forest that looks like Tatooine rocks. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So, and if you walked in on the southeast side, it was all sort of red stone. And then I walked through an archway that was sort of nondescript, but I mean, it was definitely Star Wars, but nothing special about it. But then as soon as you walk through the second archway, you are undeniably in First Order territory. And there's a big open court, and there's a huge building to your right that's sort of concrete looking, and it's got 709 banners dropped over it, and the First Order symbol, like red banners with the First Order symbol. And there's a clear, even though the ship isn't from any of the movies, it's a clear First Order ship.
No, it's Kylo's ship.
That's not Kylo's ship. I don't think so. You think that's Kylo's ship? It looks like Kylo's ship, but I don't think. Actually, we should look this up.
We need to. Well, all right, we'll do it later when we do our blog. We'll look at my picture.
Because what I thought is that somebody
compare them to the internet.
Somebody took the YT transport and Kylo's ship and sort of mashed them together.
Maybe it looked like Kylo's.
Maybe
ship,
they're different at the parks. They can't be different.
No, I don't think they are. So maybe, and it could.
It was black and red.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was definitely Kylo-ish colors. It was First Order colors. It was black and red. But I remember
the first thing I thought of was his ship when he's getting ready to blast Luke out of the.
It looks like it has like fold up wings on it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Sort of.
All right.
We'll just look it
up. For now, we'll just say we'll put a pin in it. We'll look it up before we blog, and then we can argue about it.
In any case, it's a First Order element.
And we'll just say I'm
okay,
right.
You could say right. It's fine. I actually accept that. I don't have a problem with it. I've been wrong about it enough already tonight. Flash Gordon, you remember that? So
tune in to episode 40. Holy shit.
So either way, it's definitely First Order. And there's a big stage up there, and without dropping any character stuff yet, because I do want to talk about that, but they're going to use that stage to bring you into the world for sure. Like every 30 minutes to an hour, they were up there doing something that was sort of like drawing you in.
Okay, I missed all of that shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's talk about it. Maybe the timing's wrong, or maybe it was because it was cast members.
Let's keep it vague, and then we'll hit spoiler.
Yeah. So anyway, so you got this big open area, and you've got this clear First Order sort of landing area, and what looks like a base or something, right? Yeah. And so the immersion, walking from one entrance to another, walking into the place, is completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. But once you get through those Resistance and First Order areas, you're in Batuu. and it has its own feel, and it's different. And I can't help but say it feels like Tatooine to me.
It felt like Tatooine. You know what it also felt like?
Yeah.
It kind of made me laugh a little bit. It felt like a combination of Tatooine and like a local market in Iraq.
Well, yeah. So, yeah.
Being
that's probably
like
accurate.
military guys. But that's probably what they based it on.
Almost. You're very close.
Okay.
So what I read was that they actually based that on the Morocco village that's in Epcot.
Okay.
So it's really close, though. I mean, it's definitely sort of a Muslim Middle Eastern themed sort of thing in a desert-ish area. So yeah, you're not far off. And it definitely feels like that, but they've added so many new elements to it that make it really cool. I mean, that make it you could never say this isn't Star Wars. Like, they've just done so many, like, every little fucking detail is like so Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's, when I went back to work, came back home, everything, every time I started to talk about it, I realized that I sound like a 12-year-old kid talking about this land.
I think my wife might have accused me of that before I came here tonight.
Probably.
But yeah.
She probably said, go have fun with your other 12-year-old friends.
It was when I put the lightsaber over my shoulder, and that's what it was, really. Yeah.
It happens. But I found myself feeling like, God, I feel like back when I was 12. And when I was trying to explain it to like my friends at work who would be like, all right, what was it like? And I'm like, the only way you can describe it is, and going into it when they first announced it, you always said, I don't know how they're going to do this. Somehow, they fucking did it. And you go into this land, and you are in a Star Wars world. You're there.
Yep.
The cast members, we haven't gotten into that yet. At some point, we'll have to break for spoilers, and then we'll just we gotta go full blown because I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah.
The cast members they're trained to be in that world. So when they're talking to you, like, they don't just say, good morning, how are you? They're saying things like, to the spires, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When they greet you and they let you go from their shop, whatever, they're giving you greetings from that planet. It's so different than everything else they've ever done.
Yeah.
And it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, so...
Which actually gets me excited for anything else Disney can do, too. Because I'm like, can you imagine what else they can do?
Yeah, if they want to do immersion, they figured something out.
They nailed it with this fucking park.
They really did. And so...
on two coasts.
I don't know that it's spoiler, but let's talk about characters, right? So if you go into any Disney land, world thing, I don't mean Disneyland, but any Disney piece of a park,
right?
There are themed elements there. There are characters there. There are people in costumes. They've taken that not to the next level, but to the next level.
End level.
It's ridiculous. So you have characters walking around. Let's start there. No character is sitting under an umbrella waiting for you to take a picture with them and get an autograph. No, that's not how it is.
No, they're just moving.
They're in the world with you.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the first thing you're going to see, I think no matter which side you come in, the first thing you're probably going to see is roving stormtrooper patrols.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. And they're not just walking around. They're walking up to you. So they've been trained, from a cast member perspective, they've been trained to look for things that they can integrate into the experience, right? So you have your phone out and you're trying to take pictures and shit. These guys are going to approach you and ask you about your data pad or your scanner or whatever, right? Like, they integrate it into the thing, and then they're going to harass you about it. If are you a resistance spy? Blah blah blah. What are you doing with that thing? I need to check it. Like, they make it part of the experience,
and they react to how you react too.
Because and it's not.
They did with like a little kid, and they knew not to scare the little kid, which is to Disney's credit. These guys came up. They were messing with a father and his little kid, but they noticed that he had a little kid with him, so they kind of they tailored it to the kid more, where they treat you like citizens of this first order planet, because it is a first order planet.
Oh yeah. I suppose we skipped that part. So. this is probably important. I should have done this before. But so there was the lore that existed for Batuu before, which was minimal. I think just in a book or two.
Yeah, a little bit.
Small stuff. And then what Disney decided to do was make a comic series about the Black Spire Outpost. Yeah. So if you actually go to this park, you can buy, I think there's 5, maybe 6 episodes. Yeah. Or comic books, series, whatever the hell you call it. Issues. Thank you. Thank you for helping me.
I just sat back.
There's 5 or 6 issues of a comic book that you can read, and each issue tells a different piece of beer on me. Yeah. Each issue tells a different piece of lore about the place you're at, about the Black Spire Outpost. So we don't have to go into that lore, and most people won't care, and I won't do this in the blog post, but I think the important part about this is Batuu is sort of a outer rim world that nobody gives a shit about. It was important before there was hyperspace travel, and it's not important anymore because people have hyperspace travel. But it still exists, and there's a huge black market there.
And the First Order only holds on to it because they don't want to let it go.
And smugglers love that place, and the First Orders have sort of like invaded this because they think, well, this is like a seedy place, and there's going to be bad people out here that we need to keep control of, and they're sort of trying to assert their dominance. But they only own like half of the land. Like they don't rove about the resistance area at all. You're not going to see them there, but you're going to see them in the First Order area, and you're going to see them in the joint Batuu area where there's just regular people.
Like where the Falcon is.
Yeah, exactly.
You see them walking by the Falcon.
Yep. So anyway, I was digressing, but I think it's important for the story that the First Order is sort of invading this place. And that's the impression that they give you when you're in there. And the First Order, the stormtroopers, are going to come up to you, and they're going to harass you, and they're going to ask you what you know about Jedi, and they're going to ask you what you're doing with your holocron or your data pad, or I don't know, whatever you have.
But so that brings me back to my point, and then we can move on from there. Would be like, if you've got like a little kid, you don't got to worry about that kind of shit, because like what they did with this one kid that I saw, they were talking to the father or whatever, and then they looked out at the child and they said something to the kid, just whatever, and whatever scripted thing they had, and then they kind of like, they played it off and then said, okay, have a good day, citizen, and they let him go, kind of, and they do that with a lot of people, a lot more than you would think they would do it.
Yeah, I feel like, I didn't keep track, but I feel like they approached a person or a group of people probably every 5 minutes or so. I mean, it was often.
Yeah,
and there was
talking to each other.
At least Disneyland, there was probably 3 or 4 roving patrols going all the time in different areas. Yep. And they were sort of making like a circle. Yeah. So they were hitting people in front of the Millennium Falcon. They were hitting people up by the food service place, the Docking Bay 7. They were hitting people by the First Order Cargo, which is one of the shops. They were just sort of everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, they were outside of the resistance area. I didn't say one of them in the resistance area, and I think that was on purpose. Yeah. So it's really cool, and that's only the beginning of the character elements of this, right? So if you want to see Kylo Ren, you're going to see Kylo Ren, and you're not going to see Kylo Ren on a stage, and you're not going to see him under an umbrella or hidden behind a room. You're going to see him walking with the stormtroopers on some rotational, not so common basis, or at least that's what we saw at Disneyland.
I never saw him.
You never saw him?
Nope.
So I saw him twice, once during the day and once at night. I had probably seen 4 different stormtrooper roving patrols, and then you said you missed this. So on the stage, one of the last set of patrols we saw, they were harassing people outside the cargo bay, and the stage is to the right of that with the big ship on it or whatever. Yeah. And so all of a sudden there's music playing, which is Imperial March kind of music, It wasn't Imperial March, but something similar. And this general walks up, the gray suit that they have, so he walks up and he starts giving this speech about what they're doing there and all this other stuff. And then a couple minutes into it, Kylo Ren pops up on the stage, and he doesn't say much. He makes some short comment or whatever, and then that's the end of that. But then what he does is he joins one of the stormtrooper patrols, and he starts harassing people with the stormtroopers.
Okay.
So it becomes like this just more immersive element, right? So, and people want to get pictures with him and stuff, right? But they don't play that game. Like,
no, not at all.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah. And so they don't play that game. They made it.
All right. You pause long enough. I got to piss.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I'll do that too. We'll just come back to it.
Hello.
All right. So you'll figure out how to integrate this later, but let's just try to rewind a minute. So,
Kylo
Ren. So the characters they're not just going to take a picture with you, right? Yeah. That's not immersive enough. That's not they're not keeping in character enough. So you're going to try to take a picture with them. They're going to harass you about their data pad. They might let you snap a shot. They're probably going to say something. They're definitely not going to pose for you or anything.
Almost a perfect shot for my little joke too.
Yeah. So let's do that. So let's talk about your. There are rules at Disney still. I guess we'll preface it with that, right?
Yeah,
there are
so
still rules
like you
at
said,
Disney.
Kylo is not going to take his picture with you because he's emo, emo Darth Jew. I don't know. he's Kylo Ren. But what happened with me? I made this joke during our 40th episode, which by now is probably 3 episodes ago. When Jesse and I went to Black Spire. We were walking around, and I saw Chewie walking around. First, I saw the First Order a couple times. So again, Disney World opened a little bit later. They're not open to the public yet. So where Eric went, he went to the public, where they've been open since May. First cast members and then public. Now they're just doing public, just doing cast members here in Florida. So we went to the cast member preview kind of thing. So they're working out their kinks with their cast members, whatever. I saw a handful of... The first time I saw anybody, I saw a handful of First Order troopers kind of going down the street, talking to everybody, harassing the kid, like I said. And then, like, about 30 feet behind them or so, I saw a handful of people, like a group that was weird. It was like a motley crew of people walking around, like, and they had their hands up in the air, weird. And in the middle of them was Chewbacca. Now, dude looked like Chewbacca. I mean, like, granted, he's got the suit. I mean, like, he looked like he was 6-something. He was almost 7 feet tall. He was huge. And he's kind of crouched. He's slouched down a little bit like Superman as Clark Kent. Kind of, like he's slouched down behind these people as they're holding their hands up. And I realized, he's camouflaging himself from the First Order troops. It's funny. And, like, he's pointing at people and like bringing them over to him to get more camouflage, right? And people are going and joining him, whatever. And that was the first time I saw him. And I saw him a few times throughout that, and I kept trying to get my picture with him. And the first couple of times I was like, oh, yeah, he's going over there now to go fix the Falcon, whatever. Because that was the part of the park you were in, like you said. So finally, as it's getting dark, he's over here talking to this little girl dressed as Rey, and now, I guess not. I hate to spoil the illusion for anybody, but the character that is the Chewbacca, whatever, in the costume's amazing. When he talks, he is very similar to, like I said before, the internet meme Chewbacca mom, whatever, where every time she opened her mouth, it would just make a noise. That's what this costume does, but it's Disney level, right? Yeah,
it seems to be somewhat dynamic too. Like he has trail off. What do you call those things? Tribbles? I don't know what the word is, but trills. I think maybe trills.
Yeah, because
he's got trills that can be.
Speech pattern.
Yeah, it can be louder and it can be sort of combined, and it can have like trail off. Like I don't even know how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Again, this is one of those where. It's just, sorry, spoiler, but you have to go and see it yourself just to experience it. It's literally like standing next to the guy in the movie. Like, dude, Chewbacca's sitting there talking to you, and like you can almost hear the speech pattern in his voice.
Yeah.
Like when he's talking, he's and then he's really. This dude is like straight Chewbacca.
Yeah. They can convey some emotion with the little noises. I think,
and
some
even
points,
these actors that are in these suits are like they're good at what they're doing, right? So like he had this whole interaction with this little girl where like he was very gentle and he was talking to her and whatever, and then as he was getting up, I said, Chewie, can I get a photo? And he kind of nodded and he turned around, and at the time I had forgotten, but I had one of their Tranduzian ales, their beer, which is good, by the way. Hey, so go buy it, but not when you're trying to get a photo op, apparently. I had it in my hand, so it was like a little short pint glass plastic cup in my hand, and he reached his arm around me like he was going to get ready for a picture, and then he looked down and he saw the beer, and he went, and he started pointing at the beer and shaking his paw back and forth like no, and he walked off. And I will tell you, here's how immersive they are. This is not what I said in front of Paul because it just popped in my head. This is how immersive this entire land is. For about 3 seconds, I felt bad because I thought I offended Chewbacca. I was like, oh no, Chewie's mad at me. And he ran off. Then, the thing popped in my head like, oh, duh, it's Chewbacca, he's Disney property. He can't be taking pictures with people with an open beer. I get that. That was my logic part. And then the John, host of this show, asshole side, jumped in, and I was like, now wait a minute. This fucking Wookiee, the first time you see him, he's hanging out in a cantina. And here he is, this judgmental bastard, telling me no, he's not going to take his picture with me. So now I'm offended.
Yeah.
So there you go. Chewbacca, you owe me an apology. So that was my interaction with Chewbacca. I asked him for a photo. I felt bad. I got mad. And now we're at that.
So just online, not for us, but there have been Leia Organa appearances
really?
Within the cantina. Yes, that was posted online. My wife showed it to me, actually. So there has been a Leia appearance in the cantina at the California one. And I don't know if that's a normal thing or if they just did it for early opening to sort of attract attention. But
yeah, I would wonder why, because she was never in the cantina in the movies. But I mean, or just
remember, it's Batuu. It's a new story.
Sure.
It's a new place. I know. There's familiar elements, but
because you see, I didn't go into the cantina in Florida.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I couldn't.
Oh.
It was, for the cast member thing, it was either you picked the cantina to dine in or you picked the lightsaber. So, of course, we went with lightsaber for a souvenir.
So, it's arguable what's better. We'll get to that.
I think, because I think we're getting ready to go into spoilers here. We're walking a fine line on spoilers anyway, so.
No, it's fine. It's just you and I talking, so even though you and I can talk forever, it doesn't mean...
You and I and 28 of our best friends.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you and I are good at talking in the sense that we could verbally convey to somebody how cool this is. I feel like when I was starting to write the blog post, I felt like I've said so many words, but if I just put 2 pictures up there, it's better. And I feel like
worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, no. and so if you read my disclaimer at the top of the blog post draft, that's what I said. Like, most of the spoilers here, I think, are just the pictures. The rest of it is informational or my ideas or my feelings.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though.
And until you see it either for yourself or in a picture, you don't really understand. And
that's the key to where, on one hand, you're right in your writing, and on the other hand, you're 100% wrong. Because when you... and I would be, too. When we go to write this thing, we cannot convey...
No, you really can't.
If you're remotely all right, if you're listening to us, chances are you're a Star Wars fan.
That's why I started. That's why I started the blog thing. If you're a Star Wars fan like us...
Yeah. If
this is how I think you're going to feel.
You're probably a Star Wars fan already. If not, you've at least got some Star Wars leaning tendencies like sci-fi or whatever. But to walk into this thing, if you've seen a Star Wars movie and even at least remotely appreciated the fact of what Lucas did, you go into this world and you're like, holy fuck, really?
Yeah.
That's the part that no matter what we do, no matter what we say here, no matter what we write, you can't convey that.
You really can't. And I think at least for me, looking at a picture, I thought, ooh, that actually does convey what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But you have to look at this picture. Like,
yeah.
I couldn't put it in a word.
But even still, to be
and so
there.
All that made me want to do is just hide the pictures and spoilers and say, if you don't want spoilers, just read this.
Yeah.
Wait and don't ever open the picture. Yeah. But we'll see. I don't know. People have different ideas. So we've been fair at the start of this. There may be some spoilers here. I think there's more spoilers in all our pictures. And all we've done at this point is really done our impressions of it. And we haven't even finished this. But
no,
I have so much more to say. So
we're at like 45 minutes in. So I think up until this point, we've kind of given you the idea of what this park is.
Yeah, I could talk about this for 45 more minutes. But...
Well, no, because now what I'm saying is like we've given you enough of a reason to go into this park. Now here, 45 about all right, we're almost at 46 minutes. Pinhole this damn thing right here. Spoilers.
Yeah, there may be verbal spoilers.
I'm not guaranteeing a maybe. Fuck it. I'm just gonna whatever I just spew out of my head now is just gonna be there.
All right. So we were talking about character immersion. So they've done one thing in this land that they haven't done in any others, and that's every single cast member, which for anybody that doesn't know means an employee of Disney, is in character in this land. Everybody
at all times.
Everybody, every line attendant, every janitor, every food service person, they're all part of the story.
And now caveat that with, if you've been to a Disney park or whatever at all, you think of a cast member as the guy who's letting you on the ride, going how many in your party, whatever, yada yada, right?
Yeah.
And then think of also the how do we differentiate cast member and actor? Okay.
Yeah.
So the actors who maybe don't have a name tag, but they're part of a show, right? Mm-hmm. All of these people are intermingled amongst themselves.
Yeah. You will not know who's part of the show and who is doing a job in this world.
The only way you can tell is you can vaguely see, like, you'll see name tags.
They do wear name tags, yeah.
But
it's worth noting they do wear name tags.
They take the cast members, their name tags, they put them in where you can at least read their name if you have to talk to them. But then they kind of put it in, like, basic writing from Star Wars, too.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So
that's another immersion element that's actually really cool about this. And I'm not going to go there yet. We'll get there in a minute. But so, cast members, it's worth saying that it isn't just that they're pretending to be part of the experience. They have literally invented a fucking language. And it's not it's English, don't get me wrong, but it's phrases
it's basic.
That aren't English. Well, it is basic.
Star Wars, Star Wars
it is basic.
World in the galaxy, it's basic.
Yeah,
they
but
speak basic.
They have phrases that they're obviously English words, don't get me wrong, but they are decidedly part of the story. They're part of the Batu. Like
whenever any of them greet you,
if you go to a person
they know
during
this is an outpost, so then when they greet you, they're Happy Moons, traveler.
Yeah,
coming in or whatever.
There's three things I heard a lot. So if you go during the day, instead of saying good morning or something, they say bright suns.
Yes.
Because the Batu world has multiple suns, just like Tatooine, and that's part of the thing.
I didn't hear that because I was in the evening. Okay.
Oh yeah, so Batu in the comic book thing has multiple suns, so they say bright suns during the day,
sure,
instead of good morning. And then in the evening, they say rising moons.
Yes.
Which they also have multiple moons on Batu. So they say rising moons. So that's just a simple greeting thing, but you will not hear good morning, good night. You will only hear bright suns, rising moons. Yep. Right? So everybody does that. Every vendor, every food server, they all do it. And so, but then it gets more extreme from there, though. Because there's also To the Spires, which is sort of like a good luck and farewell kind of thing. And then that has to do with the Black Spire
it's like
outpost.
Your Godspeed kind of.
Yeah, Godspeed. Yeah, that's probably the closest thing you could probably say. But so they say To the Spires to you when you're walking off or you're going away from them. Okay, but
it's almost their version of "May the Force be with you."
Yeah, it is. It is very close to that.
Because you only hear that
and
briefly during the
and if you try to say that to somebody, you won't hear that.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Because they will cover up. If you say resistance friendly things,
lightsaber,
they will stop you.
Yeah,
and they will try to give some other code. So
I can give you an example of this.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. When we had a set time of 6:05 to go to Savi's workshop, right?
So Savi's workshop, if you don't know, is the place you build the lightsaber.
Savi's workshop, because you don't know. How's that?
Yeah.
Almost all of you don't know. It's where you build the lightsaber. Because there's a few things in there that you have. Build a lightsaber, build a droid, whatever. But Savi's workshop is... I would say if you just walk in there, it's kind of hidden. It's hidden pretty well. I mean,
there are no outside signs that say "Come build your lightsaber." For sure, it doesn't exist.
You definitely have to grab that map as you're walking in because I fucked that up. I walked in and we were walking around for a little while, which prompted my daughter to go up to one of her supposed fellow cast members and say, "We have a 6:05 thing where we're going to go build a lightsaber," and two of them were standing there, and they both stopped and looked around real quick.
Yep.
And the one guy said, "Shh.
Yeah.
We don't say that word here. You mean scrap metal?"
Yeah, that's exactly what they did to us at Disneyland.
Scrap metal.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, "Scrap metal."
Yeah.
And if you want to go there, you have to go, and they gave us vague directions over this way, whatever.
Yep.
Right? And even still, after the vague directions, it took us 3 times to go find this fucking place. Now, side note to, my daughter being the bane of my existence while she's not out of my house yet, she doesn't learn. 3 different times in this fucking park, she said the word lightsaber, and people went, and I was like, "Scrap metal, dummy."
Yeah. So
I had to cover for her twice. It was fucking ridiculous.
It's worth noting, if you haven't watched the movies, that
because I will be that asshole who starts to play the part once I know what's going on.
They're effectively, as far as the world knows, in episode 7, 8, there are no Jedi.
Right.
There are a couple Sith, and they're the only thing that's left of the Force wielders, right? And anybody that were to mention a Jedi would be dead along with the Jedi.
That's why the First Order are there. They're trying to squash any remnants of the Jedi and the Resistance.
So everybody plays this game in the land. They all play the game. So I actually accidentally stumbled upon the lightsaber building thing during the day. And at
Which
the
was
time,
funny because you had texted me, or you messaged me on our message, or I guess we'll just call it our group chat.
Yeah.
You hit me up and you were like, "Well, if you're doing this, I got to go find this."
Yeah.
thing.
So I had decided that the price was not worth it, and I wasn't going to do it. And then John and I talked on the chat group, and he's like, "Well, I fucking told my wife I'm losing it. I'm losing that money tomorrow. Sorry." Yeah. And I'm like, "Fuck, I have to go back."
Because my daughter wanted to go half in. And just as a parent, just knowing, she's 22 and she's got other shit she needs to spend her money on. I was like, I'm eating this. I'm going to eat it because when we finally do our YouTube shit, that lightsaber is going to be right back on that wall.
Yeah, probably.
I hope yours joins it. So.
Yeah, sure. We can cross them up there. I got nowhere to put it.
Sweet.
So I didn't want to. No, I really wanted to do this, but when I heard the price, which is another part of the immersion, which I'll say in a minute. When I heard the price, I was like, "Fuck, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I'm an idiot if I do that."
Yes, and I want to end this with I kind of want to end it with the lightsaber thing.
No, we'll end it with a lightsaber because it's the worst spoiler you could do if somebody wants to. So I want to end it,
but I also before that, I want to caveat it with some of my pet peeves of this whole scenario, and that's one of them. So.
Well, yeah. So,
so
they have
skipping all that.
No, I want to say they have all the people in the world that want to do that thing, and even with them sort of concealing it and not making it obvious where it was, and having code words to get there, and there was still a full crowd when I got there at 9:30 at night or whatever.
There is. Yeah, we were there at 6:05, and we were
and you were on a restricted cast member thing.
Yeah.
On top of it, and I'm sure it was crowded.
I will say, I don't know what your experience was like in the park, but thankfully I got to experience it as a cast member, which we've heard many times off air from my wife walking by that, oh yeah, you two get to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because she didn't get to go, and I mean that's she gets it, but she's still not. She's never shy with showing whether or not she's jealous, and she's pissed that she didn't get to see it. But I do I so look forward to bringing like all of them back there when it opens. But at the same time, I'm like, when we went for the cast member thing, it was more like you're in the movie, where like you didn't feel like you're in a park, just bombarded by people around you. You were, you saw people like you, dressed like you, walking around, but there was more freedom and open air to walk around a little bit because it was a restricted access. Like, so it was a perfect opportunity to do it. Perfect opportunity for this podcast.
So let's let's get into that, because we've talked about character immersion. Actually, I want to say one more thing, just from character immersion perspective. So we'll get into this at the end of this before we do the lightsabers. But they've decided to split the souvenirs into multiple shops. So if you go to any other Disneyland, there's one, maybe if you're lucky, 2 shops, and they all have the same thing for that land. I mean, it's all themed for that land in some respect. But Disney hasn't done that with Galaxy's Edge. There are probably a dozen, I would guess, shops. Sure. Within Galaxy's Edge, and I
saw stuff that I've never seen in any other Disney store.
Yeah, for sure. But they've also split it up to be like, so if you were going to go to a market in Iraq, I guess, right? Some guy is going to specialize in clothes, whatever. Some guy is going to specialize in CDs.
Yes. See,
so
it goes right back to my reference.
Yeah, and so they've designed the park around that, or the souvenirs, I guess, around that concept.
Yeah.
So this is going to be early, and I'm sorry to do this. No, I'm not going to do it. We're just going to hold it for the end. But so they've split the selling area up into all these little shops on the sides of an alley that feel like, I don't know, super cool black market. But there's one at the very end. Well, maybe this isn't true, but in California, there's one at the very end that sells pets. And I'm doing air quotes here for those of you that can't see me. Pets. So they have these lizard monkey things that you've seen all the way back in episode 5. Was that the one where Jabba the Hutt had a little one as a pet, I think?
Yes, and I didn't see him in this one at all, but I might have walked right by.
So there was an area that had pets, and part of them were these lizard monkeys.
So it's Scrum.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. These lizard monkeys, but they have a bunch of them.
Had I seen him, my wife would have been pissed
and so,
more because I'd have bought them.
In any normal Disney vendor, you'd have probably a bin with 100 monkeys in it, right? Not here. Fucking monkeys are sitting on a table with a cage over the top like they're being contained, right? And they have little remote control things where they like wiggle their legs and make some noise and shit or whatever. And so we walked up to this table where there's all these little monkeys under cages, and I started asking questions about them. But at this point, I didn't realize how... This was early. It was still in the day. It was the first time we went. I didn't realize how immersive it was. And so I started asking questions about this, and the lady that was working behind the counter, the cashier, if you will, and she's fully dressed up like she's some vendor in a random desert. Who knows? But she starts talking to me like they're a real pet. Like she's not playing a game with, you want to buy this fake monkey toy. No, it's a real pet. It needs a home. Let me try to sell you on why this thing needs a home and how come you want one. And at the same time, she's flicking the fucking controls under the table and making it jump around and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this is too perfect. This is exactly what you'd expect to see in the movie or something, right? Like some asshole trying to sell you a stupid monkey that you don't want, and it's hopping around and being happy. It's just funny. Yeah. It was funny. It was perfect, and it's a perfect example of how they've taken immersion to the next level on these things.
Yeah, and I won't say that they didn't have that available here in Florida yet, because I only had 4 hours, and we kind of like while we felt like we had plenty of time, we also felt kind of rushed at the same time. We were kind of what can we see next? What can we see next? You know, like we went on the Falcon twice and kind of running around. My daughter thought I was going to ride it 5 times. I was like, no, I'm being realistic. I get the concept. If I can ride it a couple of times and do a couple of different things, it's enough for the podcast, and I'm happy with it. I will definitely ride it repeatedly later on down the line, and we'll get to that in a second. But I never saw the Salacious Crumb.
Oh, you didn't see
monkeys.
that? So
never saw them at all.
So did you go down the alleyway with like they've got like the cables hanging across and like random lights everywhere and
that's like half the fucking park down here.
So for this one, maybe it's a little different, but let's assume it's designed the same, and I'll try to help. So on the right side, when you first hit, so it's by the Ronto roaster thing.
Okay, yeah. So
you pass that. The first thing on your right is actually a.
Can we talk about the Ronto roaster for a second?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Let's do it because that's like the main thing.
This is gonna end up being like 3 hours.
100% spoiler. Fuck it. Spoilers.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done. Fuck it. I think we said it before, but fuck it.
No,
spoiler.
we did.
The Ronto roaster thing. That's like basically like their hub, kind of like in the center of this world ish.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you got
that's
that
fair.
and the Falcon.
Yeah.
So, but the Ronto roaster is an eatery, and it's kind of in the center of their marketplace, at least.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, to me, it's the entrance to the marketplace, probably.
Okay, depending on where you come from.
Yeah, depending on where you come from. So if you come in on the resistance side, it's actually the end of the marketplace. But if you come in on the first order side, it's the start of the marketplace.
Yeah, because it's kind of like it's in between the marketplace and the Falcon and the space, the port, right? So, but the Ronto Roaster is an eatery where you can go up and you order, and it's all they've named it all after stuff from vague Star Wars stuff that you'll either remember or you won't. But then they give you a description of what it is. And like we had like the Ronto roast, which was like the sausage and the coleslaw and whatever, and that was good. I had the Trandosian ale twice, 3 times. It was good. It was a pale ale. I'm a light guy. Sorry. One time Chewie told me to go fuck myself. That was good. So you got a few of those. You go in there, but in the center of the thing, like again, while you're walking around this place, you got cages with droids and this and that, whatever. In the center of Ronto's Roasters, you have
throwback. So I said this already. If you don't know 789, you're going to get throwbacks you recognize.
Yeah,
and Ronto Roaster is one of them.
Yeah,
and this is an episode 1 reference. It's Phantom. Isn't that Phantom Menace?
Well, no, it's both. It's
I guess 1 and 2. Yeah,
and 6.
Okay, yeah.
Because when you walk in, you see a pod racer engine.
Yep.
Hanging from the ceiling,
and it's being used as
a grill. Basically.
Yeah, the oven. It's roasting. It's
Ronto or whatever.
It's like a broiling. It's broiling the Rontos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Let's try to use terms. And then as you walk around the thing, and this will be on our post, there's my Star Wars knowledge is going to be tested right here. The 8D88 or 8 whatever. The droid from he was the torture droid in Jabba's palace.
Oh fuck! I don't know what his number is.
All I remember, he had the power droid upside down. And he was branding his feet.
Yeah. And he was squealing.
Going, ah! Yeah. The dude that was doing it, he's in there searing the meat. Mm-hmm. So it's a perfect fit for him. And like he says a few things here and there, like just like he does in the Return of the Jedi, and he's there grilling for you. And then you go up and the cast members like give you your food, whatever. But yeah, like little things like that just like drag you in. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So there's Ronto Roasters. So all right, where were we?
So that's Ronto Roasters is probably the second tier food place in this. I think the first is Docking Bay 7 in Cargo. I think is what it's called.
Yeah, and Jesse and I walked in there and we saw the prices. And while I'm going to go back there. The prices are a little bit hefty. So we walked out.
We ate 4 of the things in there. And I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
We'll just get to that.
All right.
So we did our first impressions. We talked about how immersive it is across the whole cast members. I think the next thing to do is the weird part of this, which is talk about the rides. Because there are effectively only 2 rides, right? So they've made this a world where you get immersed, but there aren't roller coasters.
And we're going to get, you know what? Because of my overall experience with this, I'm glad we're going to do this now because we're going to get into my biggest problem with the park overall.
All right. So for me, this wasn't a problem, but if you read my blog post as it exists today, and it's probably going to change when John and I do this, I feel like they threw in the extra rides you needed outside of the world.
Okay. All right.
All right. So I'll get to that. And I have an outside the world entry in the blog thing that we'll have to talk about because it's not the same in Disneyland as it in Disney World. It's different. But so within the actual Galaxy's Edge, there's only actually 2 rides, right? And one of them isn't open yet on either park.
Right.
So you have the one.
There's a reason for that. We can get into it right now.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
All right. So okay. So
the
one that isn't open.
Okay. The one that's not open
is the Rise of the Resistance ride.
Yes.
Which is the only ride in the Resistance side of the land.
Yeah.
And it's the only one that's not open.
What do you know about
it? I know very little actually.
All right. I know what I've heard and what I've read.
Uh-huh.
And so when I walked in, I saw a handful of cast members blocking off a walkway.
Yeah, it was the same thing in California.
Yeah, so I knew what it was. Basically, essentially what this ride is supposed to be is 100% immersive like the rest of the park. You're a Resistance member doing something against the First Order, and you get caught, okay?
All right.
When you get caught, the First Order, the stormtroopers that you see walking around the park, those are the guys, they literally take you from one area to another, and then you get liberated by more Resistance, and then you gotta move on to whatever. So it's a physical ride that you have to do. The problem they're having with is people with disabilities. They don't know how to compensate for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
they can't just put a warning up. I mean, I feel like half of the Universal rides you can't get on if you have disabilities.
Well, and see, without because thanks, because typically I'm the asshole of the group, but that's how I was gonna go with it. Well, I mean, pregnant people can't ride this.
Yeah.
If you can't, you can't. I'm sorry. Disney is just trying to.
Yeah, they're trying.
Which kind of talks to their social justice thing. They tend to try to appease to everybody. If they can't do it, they can't do it, and they start to panic about it. So they've closed this ride from California since May, and now it's closed here too. They're not opening this thing until they can figure this shit out. At some point, you just gotta be like, look, sorry, you can't ride it, because I want to see what this is.
Yeah, me too.
The ride itself sounds amazing. It sounds so much like a sci-fi version of one of these haunted house experiences where they can touch you, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like that, but like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where they're supposed to lock you up and hold you and detain you and whatever, and then you get released, and then you go and you fight and you help and whatever. So all right, so that one's not there. It's not available. So sorry. That's only one of 2 rides.
Yeah, so the other
or
ride...
it's one of only 2 rides is how I should say it.
Within the land, yeah. So the other one is the Millennium Falcon. It's sort of a Smuggler's Run.
Yeah.
No, that is actually the name of it, isn't it? Smuggler's Run.
Yeah.
So it very much feels that way, too, when you do it.
So it's Hondo... I'm going to butcher his name, but Hondo from Clone Wars. He's a cartoon character brought to life, and he will be in the pictures that we post on the blog. And he's legit brought to life on that stage.
Yeah, so
you see him.
Super spoiler here because they've made an animatronic version of him, but I mean, it's not just
when
that
you
he's...
first walk in, you would have thought he was an actor.
Yeah, it's not just that he's up there moving around his hands or something. No, this fucker is walking between control panels and hitting buttons.
Yeah,
and then
he steps over, he does whatever.
And then
the R5 unit that's with him is moving around.
Yep,
yeah.
and the Millennium Falcon comes in during
behind
the
him.
presentation behind him, and it's landing. And so he sort of turns and he looks up at the screen, and Chewie pops up on it, and they're having a little conversation. The whole thing is super cool.
He is the most immersive animatronic I've ever seen.
So I took a video of this because they said it was allowed. My video is shitty because it's kind of dark in there.
Yeah.
I might still post it anyway.
I got some. We'll put it up together.
I definitely have pictures.
That's where we have to get together.
Yeah, I definitely have pictures that are good, so you can see the pictures, and you will definitely wonder, is that really a robot or a person in a suit? because everything. But I feel like with the video, you get the advantage of seeing the motions, and it's like not fake. I mean, it takes you a minute to realize, oh, that's not actually a dude. Yeah. And so that's the pre-entry to this ride.
Yeah.
Because that's just the prep for what's going to happen. And then
what Disney's been doing is they've slowly been progressing their your queue experience, right? Mm-hmm. So like as you walk into
that's right.
like
so
the Winnie the Pooh shit,
yeah.
there's interactive stuff or whatever, right? This is like the next level of that shit.
Yeah.
Where, and again, for me, it was a very fast queue because it was a small.
So it was not fast for us. We did about 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah, mine was nowhere
before we got to him. And
either one of mine was only about 10 to 15 minutes.
And so we waited until at first the wait time was 70 minutes for that ride.
Holy shit.
So we waited and waited and waited for hours, and it finally got down to 45, and it's like, now is our time. But that 45 minutes is to the pre-queue. But it doesn't feel like a long wait after you've got there.
No, once you get to Hondo.
I know we've done another, I think it was probably another 10 minutes probably from him to actually getting on the ride.
Yeah. Because from
and they don't count that. They don't count that as queue time.
Yeah. So again, spoilers. You go when you're in Hondo. He tells you about how he's trying to get material from the First Order to the Resistance, and Chewie's letting him borrow the Falcon for us to do this ride, which essentially sets up the whole story. And he's going to give Chewbacca supplies for him to use, like what he's looking for. So it's kind of like any RPG you've ever done. I have to get this for this guy to help this guy and this guy. And that's kind of what the ride is. Yeah. So you go from Hondo. He goes, okay, my new pilots go, and the doors open, and you go in. That's the point where.
Well, that's the point where you can say fucking ooh-ah, right? That is the point where you're like.
You're in the Falcon.
Yeah. You don't realize it until you walk through that door.
You're
walking into the Falcon. You're walking into the Falcon.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's the actual Falcon that's outside. I think it's separate.
No. It's different because there's multiple different ports in there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, once you're in there, and it does happen throughout the thing, like you hear noises and people talking, and it sounds like you're in a space bay in Star Wars. But once you get to the Hondo part, I don't remember it any time before that. When you get to that part, when he says, okay, enter, whatever, when that door whooshes, it's just like they do in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck. And then you walk in.
Yeah.
And when you walk in, you start to walk into, I guess the best way would be the recreational area of the Falcon.
Yeah, so
where the chess table is.
Yeah, so the iconic thing is the chess table, and it's right there in front of your face. You've got that digital chess table board.
And we both got our picture taken there, so we're gonna have to put those side by side. Yours was better than mine because we took it on the second time. We had to hurry up and take it because it was like it was moving, so we didn't have a chance to take it.
So what they've done here is they've created a queue line up to Hondo, and then from there. You go into a queue group, I guess. So you get a little card, and you're part of a 6-person team. And by the way, it's worthwhile if you can do this with other people you know. Because it is very much a team-oriented, team-based ride, as weird as that might sound. So you're going to go into this. They're going to give you a card after you pass Hondo, and it's going to have a color on it. Yellow, orange, blue. I don't know what the fucking colors are, but it's going to have a color on it. And so from there, you go into essentially the rec area on the Millennium Falcon, I think is what John said, and that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And so you're in this, and it's very clearly Falcon.
Let the Wookiee win.
It's very clearly 80s Falcon too, with like the way they've done the lights on the control panels and that weird padding on the circular tunnels that go off in the different directions. Like, you cannot mistake this for anything else but the inside of the Falcon. And
the thing is, you don't really see those tunnels at first either.
No, you don't until you've gone through that thing, and then you.
And that was one of my big points. Was every time you think you've hit your, I'm going to coin a phrase here, geek peak. Holy shit! They do another one. Like when I walked in, I saw like a little walkway, and they have their cast members, and they're yelling for brown crew, white crew, whatever tab you have, and you go to them. They're like, all right, give me my pilots first. And they walk you through what you're going to do ahead of time, so you know. So, okay, give me this, that first, whatever. So you see the chest, and you see this, and you see that. And you still feel like you're in that part of the Falcon, but the other door is shut. And then once they assemble the crew, 2 pilots, 2 gunners, 2 engineers. They do your little quick spiel, and then the door. Shoo,
yeah. So.
And that's when you see that circular Falcon entryway, and you're like,
and you're walking down those hallways.
And that is the first time I think I almost wept at 44 years old. I was like, holy shit.
No,
they did it.
It's so iconic that you couldn't mistake it for anything else. And
no. You're physically in the Falcon. You're like, wow.
Yeah. There's no way to describe it. I tried to take pictures, but I was like so giddy and excited. They were all blurry.
I took a little bit of video as I was walking through, but I was too busy looking around.
I know.
To this point, I still don't know if any of it's any good. We'll take some still shots out of it. But that, just like you said, like the circular lighting around each connecting corridor part, it's all there. And you just like, fuck, like the tan and white kind of color to it. You're like, oh my God, you're here. And then you get, okay, immediately in, and they tell you right away, save all your holo scans until the end. Again, they immerse everything. You're not taking pictures, holo scans till the end. Wait. And the cockpit door swishes open. And the only thing that would throw me off looking back would be the fact that there's 6 seats there.
So it's not the classic Falcon cockpit. Okay, so there was really a pilot and a co-pilot, and the gunners were on the top and bottom edge of the... Right, so they didn't do that.
So there was a...
And then the engineer positions
in the movie, there's a pilot and co-pilot. Now, there are seats behind them, but mostly which are not like always
Luke, occupied.
Yeah, you always
and
see
the
like
gunner is
standing.
never in the cockpit. Those are 2 separate stations.
Top,
Okay, so they've broken that.
I got him. Great kid.
They've broken that.
Cocky.
But let me tell you why this is the coolest ride ever. Because...
Ever.
Probably. So...
I'm sorry, Paul. Please don't listen to this for the next 6 months.
It's immersive, sure. It is a weird mix-up of motion simulator and, I don't know, digital 3D. I'm not even sure what the hell to call it.
Everything.
So they've combined all these things, but this is why they made it cool. So you can ride this ride 6 times and get 6 different experiences on it.
Yeah.
But then you can go back and do it again because it's all based on your crew, how well you're going to do,
how well you're going to do,
and what you have to do.
Right.
Because
the basics of it is you're trying to steal some material from the First Order for a Hondo.
Yeah, you're trying to steal some cargo out of a transport, more or less. Okay, but that breaks into an episode of things with chasing after ships and snatching up the cargo.
Right.
And so here's how
there's a bunch of shit that can go wrong.
They've split it in the most bizarre, impossible way, I think, that doesn't really make any sense, but it's great for a ride. So you have 2 pilots. One controls the ship going up and down, and the other one controls the ship going left and right.
Yeah,
so that in itself makes no sense. In a real ship, you just have a guy with a joystick, and he would control all the directions. But so now you have to have 2 pilots that sort of can work together, and one can do up and down, and one can do left and right, while they talk to each other about what they're trying to do. Because you're trying to chase ships, and the ship needs to be in front of you because the 2 guys behind you in the gunner seats have to shoot these planes,
they're shooting the TIE fighters out of the air.
Yeah.
And then
they have to shoot the aircraft chasing you, and then exactly. The engineers behind them have to shoot grappling hooks out to grab the pod off the back of the ship.
Think of a space train, a la maybe Solo, right? There's a space train going. You're stealing shit off of it, right? So the engineers in the way back, but not only are they getting ready to shoot those cables when it's time, they're fighting other things in the Falcon.
Yeah.
So as their lights go up, it's like they're timed, and they have to hit them in time to basically to fight any problems with the Falcon.
So the pilots have it easiest. They go up, down. I think they go up, down, left, right, And if they're coordinated on that, you're good. And the only other thing they have to do is speed up with the hyperspace thing and brake on a couple points so they don't ram into the ship, right? Behind them is the gunners. The gunners have to shoot down all the TIE fighters and shit that are around you, and they have to try to knock pods or weaken pods or whatever on the back of the ship, right? But they're reliant on the pilots steering the right direction so that they can aim. And by the way, if you're shitty at aiming and doing gun stuff, there's actually 2 modes in the gunner part.
It'll allow you to
One is the auto, and you just have to kind of hit the button to shoot the right thing at the right time. And the other is the manual, where you can sort of
aim
your gun the right way and hit the right thing.
Yeah.
So you can have 2 different kinds of challenges, and it's independent of each gunner. But they're still reliant on the pilots aiming the right way and doing the right thing.
Yeah, the ship has to be facing the right way in order to do it.
And then in the back is probably the worst position, because they don't have to aim, really. They don't have to do anything right. But the thing is, if the pilot bumps into something on the left side and breaks a piece of the ship off, one of the engineers has to fix that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he needs to pay attention, or she needs to pay attention, because you're going to have to grappling hook a pod that's dropping to the ground.
You have to be paying attention to the lights going off next to you that you can, like, basically, and all it is a switch. Because first, Jesse and I were engineers, and I was on the right, she was on the left, and we did really good on that job. And there's lights going off as they're hitting shit, and you smack them and they go off. And then there's the one bigger light that's the grappling hook, and when it's time, you hit that one. So you do have to kind of pay attention to what's going on around you. And I do remember that at one point, like, whoever was our pilot that first time when we were the engineers, were flying through, and we got the first one, the first cargo, and then we were chasing the second one, and they kept, because they will, like, yell out instructions in the game, or the ride. So you'll hear Hondo, left pilot, go right, whatever. And they told this guy, like, 3 times, go right, and he didn't go right. So I yelled from the back, go right! And he finally went right. But we missed that second cargo, so we got one of the cargoes out of there. But, I forget how much we got. It's in my picture or whatever. So, because you get a certain amount of credit minus what damage you do to the ship, right?
Yeah, so you get credits for each of the sort of mini missions inside that you complete, which is picking up the pods or whatever that drop off the transport ship. But then you lose money for every time you've banged into a wall and you haven't repaired it or whatever. You're going to lose money for that. So if the pilots bang into a wall and the engineers don't fix it right away, you might lose a couple thousand credits.
Now, how bad did you ever bang into anything as you were in that ride?
Well, so not too bad, actually. So Becca and I were the pilots, so we were pretty good at interfacing with each other. Even though she doesn't have the greatest hand-eye coordination, together we did pretty good. So the engineers didn't have to do very much. I think we had a total of 2,500 in damages. It was really small.
The first time we were all right. The second time we weren't bad, but here's the thing. Because we went around the rest of the park, did whatever, and then we came back around. We're like, all right, let's jump on it. And again, when we went, because it was cast member, there was like no line. So we jump on this ride. And this time, Jesse and I were the pilots. So I was the left pilot, she was the right pilot. So she was up and down, I was left and right. And I understood the concept right away. She was kind of like a little fuzzy on it. So I was trying to tell her as we were going, like, okay, you get it. Up is, back is up, forward is down, kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But what threw me off initially was how delicate the controls are.
Oh, they're very delicate, yes.
Dude, yeah. So to all you listeners, when you go to ride this thing, you tap this thing to the right, and she flies like a bitch.
Yeah, if you are on the left control, which I never did the up-down, but if you're on the left control and you hit hard left or hard right, like the whole ship is going like some other motherfucking way.
Yeah.
Like, wrong. You did it wrong.
Yeah. So the first 2 times I did it, because then I tried to correct it, I overcorrected. Much like anytime you've played, like, Forza on on Nintendo, whatever. Like, oh shit! So I overcorrected really bad. So bang, bang, right? So then I realized, okay, we're gentle. And then flying some more, and my daughter goes to hit it, and I'm like, up. No, your other up. So we banged around a little bit, right? I'm like, no, it's gentle. And I'm trying to like tap her and tell her, Gotta be easy on it, easy. And then, like, I'm yelling at the guys behind us, and they're laughing because now, like, they know that I'm, like, in queue with, like, what this ride does. And they're like, so they know I got us. So we scored, like, both containers that we're going for, and we scored a whole bunch of points, right? But because in the initial moving around with the Falcon, we banged that ship up a little bit. We banged it up more than the last time, the first time we did it, right? So when we left, when you walk out, the ship, the outside of the cockpit was like sparking.
Oh fuck! So yeah, so
right?
I told you
it didn't happen the first time.
Yeah, I told you we didn't do much damage. We had like 2,500 credits. We saw nothing when we walked out. I watched a YouTube video online a few days ago where somebody had 18% left. They did 82% damage and they had 18% left.
Holy shit.
And these guys walked out in the hallway. There's fucking sparks shooting everywhere, like blue sparks and shit. Yeah. And they're like, oh, fuck, this thing is destroyed. Like, we didn't get that experience. That is super cool.
Dude,
that makes me want to wreck the fucking ship the next time I write the ride. I want to see that shit. I want to see it. It was like, how cool is that to have like an after... The ride is over, and you're having an after experience of, I fucked this shit up really bad.
Because like the first time, like we were rocking and rolling around, but they didn't hit anything. So, like, but the ship was like weaving in and out. So when we got done, the actor or the cast member was standing outside the cockpit, like, who the hell was driving that? You know. So it was kind of funny. The second time, that shit was sparking. I was like, that didn't happen last time.
Yeah, I had no idea when we wrote it.
Even the walk out, is
part of the experience. Yep.
So it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I've heard of people who crash it, and I've also heard that, and I didn't see it at all in my experience, and you can tell me if you did, but apparently, depending on how much you get in that ride, it carries over like in apps and stuff like that, so that when you go to like say buy blue milk or whatever, some of these actors can see what you've done on that ride and be like, hey, Hondo's looking for you. Are you sure you want to buy this?
That would be super cool. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't see that yet either, so I'm you know, the fan part of me is praying it's true because and there's like a really good part of me that's believing it's true because of what I've already experienced. I hope it's true. I really do. I hope to see that. And we might have to just go together and like fucking crash the Falcon and then see what happens after that.
I already said that's back out. We're probably going to have to go
as
back.
Much as I don't want to crash the Falcon.
All right, so we'll have to go back. But I think on that note, we can move to outside of the rides and go to the sort of drinky, foodie stuff.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so cool.
Because we're an hour and a half.
I have to piss, though.
Yeah, me too. All right, hit it.
No, you may not start.
Yeah,
no. So right. Okay, so we're back from our. Actually, piss John break. And I are 5 hours into recording, and so we had to take another potty break.
It's fucking ridiculous, yeah.
But I think I'm realizing a theme here. So every time we went into this thinking, well, we do Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and it would probably be maybe an hour or a little longer. 45 minutes in.
Everything that we thought we were going to do was going to be 2 episodes.
Yeah. So 45 minutes in. So 45 minutes in, I said, oh, we got at least another 45 minutes. We're past that now. And I think we have another half an hour.
Probably.
That's my guess. And so having guessed wrong twice, half an hour probably means 45 minutes. But we're going to try to finish this up with just focusing on the food and drink elements of it and maybe quickly talking about all the vendors that are in the side part of the black market thing.
Can this preview to Galaxy's Edge possibly surpass our Endgame episode? That's where we're getting right now.
It probably could. So
it's going to if we're not careful.
Listen, if you're I know it's too late to say this because we're 90 minutes in, but if you're a fucking super Star Wars geek like us and
you're still listening,
you love every moment of this, listen, John and I could do this for probably another hour without effort, but we're really going to try to shorten it.
You can get on the blog, you can get on the email. We will talk about this shit till the cows come home. And you can come down to Florida. We will go there with you.
Yeah, and for the 2 1/3 of you that really like this, we're going to do another 30 minutes.
Sorry. Well, not sorry for the few of you.
We're probably going to spend another 20 hours in this place and not be mad about it, at least.
Yeah, probably.
And I'm sorry that we're doing this to the rest of you. You can cut out now. Just come to Orlando and go with one of us to the park, and we'll point out all these ridiculous things to you that you never even realized existed.
At this point of it, with like only 30 people listening to us, I am 100. Fuck that. I don't care how many thousands of people listen to us. I will make a concerted effort to always get to know our fans. If you make the effort to actually get to know me, and I don't think you're trying to kill me or my family, I will go hang out with you. Fuck it. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the Tom Cruise. Don't look at me.
So I'm the same way. We have Disney passes. I can go there every day if I want to.
We can go to Disney together.
I'm not going to go there every day, but
no. But if you listen to us and you want to say, you know what, I listened to you enough where it may be a fan thing, and I want to go hang out with you at Disney. Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, really.
I'm ready to go.
And if you want to get this 2 idiots in a garage talking experience, there's no better way than to just take one of us with you to Galaxy's Edge, and we'll give you this all day. All day. I'll point out every dumb painting on a rock that I realize is something nostalgic from a film, and we'll just do that. It'll be Easter egg day.
Side note to something I don't think either one of us found out until I found out just a little while ago.
Ooh, what do we got?
You know that when you go to the Disney Park app, that if you go into Galaxy's Edge, it becomes its own app for Galaxy's Edge, and you can decipher some of the shit written on the...
I do know that. And so... no, I don't know this because of me. I know this because of my son, who is like screen obsessed, and he's always on his phone and stuff. And so we were actually in Galaxy's Edge, and we have the Disney Play app, which is where this stuff exists.
That's the one, yeah.
And so there are actually 3 different interactive paths you can take on the app if you want to like engage with the world. No, seriously, I'm not fucking with you.
I'm only laughing because I just realized that I just put us well beyond Endgame.
Yeah, it is. But so one of them is the translation. So I forgot to mention this up front, and it's probably super important. But there is this, hit me if I'm wrong, John, Aurebesh script. Is that right?
Yeah, okay.
Aurebs. I don't know how to pronounce it. Doesn't matter.
Aurebesh, yeah.
There is this Star Wars script that is meant for the English language, but it's all these weird symbols. And so if you can translate it, if you know what the symbols are, the letter K thing, kind of whatever it looks like, is actually an A. And there's different symbols that look like...
I think they had a translator on the back of their map, too.
They do. Yeah. They do. So, but if you have the Disney Play app, you will have a translator on hand. And you can translate all the signs that are around here, and there are a lot of them. And you can translate the signs from the Star Wars script into English. And
it's funny, too, because before I knew of this little app idea... I knew what the Disney app was because Noah and I had played it on other rides, right?
We didn't.
But when I saw some stuff within the Star Wars universe, I was like, here's to show you how, 1, smart I am, and 2, how dumb I am. I looked at it, and the first thought was, oh, it'd be cool if they incorporate some of this stuff into the Disney app.
So,
not that they've already done it and to go look, but... Oh, wow, that can be incorporated so cool into whatever. And they've already done it.
No.
Yeah.
So we were saying there were 3 different paths you can take on the app, okay? So...
We tangent like hard on that one.
So I won't ruin it, but one of those things you can do is be sort of a logistics. If I were John in the Navy scanning fucking parts on a shelf, so you can do that, right? So you can take your phone and you can scan QR codes. Okay. There's QR codes on all these random boxes that are located all over the world. All over the land or whatever, and if you scan the right one, you'll get like a special thing. You'll find like a Jawa outfit or some shit, and You get recognition in the app. It's not worth shit, but you just do it because it's fun. And so you can also do the translation, which is the cooler thing. And so I'm guessing you missed this because you didn't know about the app. But if you do the lightsaber experience, nope, I'm going to hold that. If you do the lightsaber experience, you should have the app so you can translate all the shit you're going to see around you.
Right.
Because
there's your only spoiler for the
there are
lightsaber.
things in there.
We're going to get into that deep. All right, guys.
All right, so
moving on.
Where we were trying to go before we got here is we're going to go on to the vendors and the food stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we talked
before we got here an hour ago.
Yeah, an hour. Well, nobody knows that because we did a cut and it was only like 8 minutes ago or something. But
insider knowledge. Yeah. We've been here for an hour.
8 minutes. 8 minutes. Anyway, so we were talking about the Tonto Roaster, and that's one of them. That's the secondary food place in the world, and the primary one is called Cargo Bay 7. Docking Bay 7 Cargo, something like that.
When you go to our website and when you look at our blog, he and I will have this straight.
Yeah, I do have the right name in there, whatever it might be, and nobody knows really.
And we'll call back to ourselves and call ourselves assholes too. So it'll be great.
Yes, that is mostly accurate. So anyway, there is that Tonto thing, which is like it's a food thing. You walk up to and you get the food and you walk away and you just sit somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
The Ronto Roasters and
yep, Ronto Roasters.
Like I said before, they do the where they'll name it something out of a Star Wars world, and then they'll give you kind of a. Even still, like I'm deep in this, like I'm immersed in this world myself, and I had to kind of like think about what they were trying to describe. But like the Ronto Roaster was like sausage and a soft pita with some like soft coleslaw kind of thing over it, whatever. But it was good. But go ahead.
Yeah. So no, it was good. Everything was good. So we did lunch at the Docking Bay 7, Cargo Bay 7. I forgot what the fuck the name was.
Yeah.
But, we did lunch that thing, and they have a ton of stuff on the menu. And
you spent a little bit more money than I did there because that's when we walked away from there.
Very true.
It's a little bit pricier.
I also took a picture of the menu, and I'm going to put it on the blog under the spoiler part. So if you want to look at it, you can. But what's really cool about this is they have undeniably American foods, right? Like you say ribs. Okay, yeah, fuck yeah, that's American. Let me get some ribs. But they did it in the weirdest way possible so that when you eat it, I think you forget that you're eating some normal American dish.
Yeah.
And so the thing they did was, for me, so if you guys don't know me, I cook all the time, and I love to mix flavors and do all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, and he cooks really well, too, yeah.
And this is what they did here, though. So they said, oh, we're going to do ribs. So me and Ethan both had ribs. But Ethan hated it, and I loved it. And I'll tell you why, though. Because the spices they put in the barbecue sauce are not Southern barbecue They're not Southern spices. What they did is they mixed Mexican and Indian spices in the barbecue sauce. So you're going to taste...
So it made it like an off-world kind of...
Yeah, so I said in the blog, like, it's classic food, but it feels alien. And that's why. It's because they said classic barbecue sauce. You think brown sugar, going to have some molasses flavor in there, right? There are elements you expect if you say classic barbecue. They're not there. Because what they did with the barbecue sauce was they stuck cumin in it, and that's Mexican and that's Indian. And they stuck cayenne in it, which is a little spicy, and that's more of an Indian. They did that, like, they manipulated the fuck out of it so that if you think you're eating barbecue, you're wrong. It's not what you ever thought. And they made up something new, and they didn't go to another part of the multiverse to find a spice. They just said, how can we make this feel weird? Oh shit, we'll mix Mexican and Indian.
Yeah,
so who would have done that? Still
edible, but
yeah, and it was actually really good. I loved it. I loved the ribs. My son didn't like it because he didn't like Indian, and it definitely has Indian characteristics to it with the cayenne and stuff, and it has some burn, so he didn't like it for that. But when he said, I'm not going to eat the rest of these ribs, he ate a few of them. I'm like, I'm eating all of it. All of it. Because I know what this is. I know what these spices are. And even though it's weird, I love it. It makes this feel alien. that was kind of where it
authentic.
was. And so they did that with everything. And there was a shrimp and noodle dish that was sort of Asian that my littlest daughter had, and she loves Asian food, but it was sort of Asian, but it was also sort of something else, and I'm not sure what that something else was, but it had like a salty sort of soy sauce kind of sauce on it, but it also tasted like balsamic vinaigrette. It was like mix up of weird things, but once you eat it, you kind of like, okay, yeah, that works. Yeah, it's weird, but that works. I could see that. Like, what planet am I on? Because that's what I'm eating. This is this planet. I'm pretty sure that's at the planet. I'm here.
Yeah, and I felt the same way at Ronto's Roasters, where we ate like essentially their fast food version, and it was a sausage, like a bratwurst kind of thing, in a soft pita, so much like you would find in a gyro.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a Greek pita, but you're eating a German sausage. I think that's.
Yeah,
that's where they weird you out. They mix a couple cultures together and
because they had like
related
the
cultures,
coleslaw
though. Related cultures, though, right? So if you had coleslaw, then you had sort of the German sauerkraut-ish flavor, but it was mixed with some Greek doner kebab,
and it had just a little bit of a kick to it, to the sausage
That's
itself.
Very cool, man.
So we ate that. And we're like, wow, okay, yeah, different, but Now, you've described it better because you cook. The best way I can describe it was like when I compare it to the rest of like park food, and I always hold Disney above the rest of the park food. But if you hold it to park food as far as Disney goes, it was closer to their high-end shit.
Yeah, so Disney has a few restaurants that are really, really good, and they do some weird flavor mixing, regional spices, stuff that's really cool. So it definitely, even the street food thing in Star Wars was like that. And I don't think it was intended to be high-end. It was just, how can we make this feel like you're not eating something you would have ever found in the earth?
Yeah, and because of that, it made it feel, to me, high-end. So I was like, wow, even like the run-of-the-mill sausage wrap, or whatever the hell it was really good.
Yeah, I was the same way.
It was well worth the money.
I say this in the blog, but like, something is a barbecue rib, but when you see it and then when you taste it, it's alien, bro, because like they've done something else to it. You know what I mean? They've mixed up something you never saw coming. And you may recognize it, but you never saw it coming. And it was just like, whoa, okay, all right. Yeah. All right, you got me.
Yeah, no, it was really good. The food was amazing. And like I said, even like their Trinidadian ale, however they pronounce it.
Yeah, so let's...
get into the drinks.
My phone's dead, but let's go there. So in California, there's one way to drink, and that is to go inside the cantina. And so the way it works there is you can reserve a booth, and you can get a pre-reserved hourly spot in the cantina, and you can sit as long as you want. Or you can walk up, which is what most people do because they're just walking into the land, and they don't know you have to have fucking reservations to get in the cantina. But so there's a walk-up, though. So the walk-up works, and the way they do it to keep it flowing is that any person that goes in on the walk-up doesn't get a chair, one, so you have to stand at a table and have your drinks. You don't get to sit down. And two, you can't be there more than 45 minutes. When you hit the 45-minute mark, they give you the bill and throw you out. So that way they keep it flowing. So we obviously did that. We didn't make reservations.
Dude walks up and says, he don't like you.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't like you either.
Yeah, so it's actually, to be super technical, it was actually 45 minutes or 2 drinks. So if you had 2 drinks, out of there. But so there's a funny piece about this, which I'll mention in the blog, but they're slow as fuck. Like 25 minutes in, you're lucky if you've got your second drink. They're really slow. So having 2 drinks by 45 minutes is actually kind of hard. But, and this I've said in the blog, or I will say in the blog, yeah, something like that. But I mean, if you're in a seedy sort of like black market outpost, what more would you expect than a waiter that fucking ignores you? I don't really know what to say. And to be fair, the waiter has to do like half the standing restaurant.
Yeah, but even still,
at one time,
it felt right.
Yeah. But it was like, oh, they're abusing me. They're not coming back. I hate them. Why aren't they here yet? My drink is gone. But then at the same time, it was kind of like, okay, if I was really here in this black market cantina, yeah, nobody's going to pay attention to me anyway. It's kind of an experience.
All right. All right, so on from that, where are we at?
So we were doing food and drink. So the cantina is a must-do, whether they have the 45-minute rule or not.
Do it.
You got to do it. I'll put those posts on the blog thing. It is really cool. It's very Tatooine-ish. The only thing they've really changed inside there, it very much looks like the Mos Eisley Cantina. The only thing they've really changed is the band part of it. So you've got an alien band in the Mos Eisley Cantina. They have a droid here. And so just to be super cool, the droid that they designed, which he's really interactive and he moves around and shit, and you can go up and stand by him. But that droid they designed is an exclusive pop. So Paul got one of the exclusive
Paul's got it. He took it
pop.
home.
Yeah,
Of course he
he's
did.
got one of the exclusive pops tonight. But well, actually, I have another one. Oh, no, it's in my car.
Somebody's going on the wall. It's all right.
No,
we're going to build a What If Geeks wall over here.
I think I put it in the back of the car because I don't want you both to pick the same thing. But I got to send them back home. So I mean, the cantina is super fucking cool, and they mixed up Tatooine with modern. You're gonna see some creatures you recognize in some weird water cages, and there's other things that definitely vary Episode 7, but
TJ Rex hanging out with like Little John going shots.
yeah, something like that. Maybe not him, but yeah. So super cool. And so the last thing we wanted to do was all the vendors, right? So I think I mentioned this already, but they did it different. So normally you have a area themed souvenir shop, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna cut 20 plus minutes.
It's all right. Yeah.
An area themed souvenir shop. And that's kind of all you get. So Futureland, there's like the one Venus Traders or something, and that's what you get. But in Star Wars Land, it's not like that. It's all split up. So there is a First Order Trader in the First Order area. There is a Resistance Trader in the Resistance area. And then in Batuu, in the main area, there's actually like six different ones. Yeah. I think maybe more than that. So if you walk past the Bonto Roasters, if you came in on the First Order side, or I guess it'd be your last stop if you came in on the Resistance side, but there's a Kettle, something Cat's Kettles or something like that. It's a popcorn stand. It has multicolored, weird popcorn and shit. Yeah. It's basically like
a rainbow popcorn.
Yeah, it's basically like caramel corn-ish kind of idea. And so past that, on the left side, you have a weird mutant creature kind of thing. It has like stuffed animals.
Because like there's Tauntauns in there.
Yeah, from Hoth and
there's there's a bunch of shit in there. Yeah,
and then on the right side you have
Ranthors are in there too.
Yes, Rancors.
No, Ranthors from Rat Chort. The shit Han Solo is chasing in Force Awakens. Saying, bro? Not the Rancor that goes after Luke in Return of the Jedi. The whatever the hell Han Solo is like transporting in Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
The one that kills all the
I remember
pirates. Yeah, that thing is in there.
I don't remember the name, but it doesn't matter. So then, from that you can go to the opposite side, and there is I think it's garments. But the cool thing they have at that one, I'm assuming it's the same as the one you went to, they have Jedi robes.
Yeah.
So you can do Jedi robes of any size, brown or black. It's got the full hood and all that wraparound. And they're unfortunately $125 per set.
Yeah. Now, all right, so then jump, because we gotta speed this up. Jump over to the First Order side.
Yep.
Right? because I was looking for like I saw a lot of shit in here when we were walking around for our few hours that, like I said, I'd never seen in another park. I was like, holy shit. Okay, so they have a couple of things in there that you do see in other Disney stores, parks, whatever. But a lot of shit that's like just exclusive to this park, right? So then you go to the First Order side, and they've got a lot of shit in there. One thing I saw, which made me laugh, and my daughter turned to me and was like, "Yeah, go ahead, justify buying this." It's a custom Stormtrooper suit.
Yeah.
Like about $5 or $6 grand, but they customize it to your body.
Yeah, that's in the First Order Cargo, I think it's called. Yeah, First Order.
So
Cargo.
I said, the minute this podcast winds up to the point where we're making like our first million, I will buy Stormtrooper suits like across the board, including Noah, just for his good night. Fuck it, whatever. We'll buy him. But what I did find for Noah in there was the stun baton.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you wondering what the hell that is, in the second one, Last Jedi, when Finn is running across the whatever, and the one First Order trooper sees him, and he's like, "Traitor!" and he breaks out a baton and a shield. That I've never seen that in another store, and they had that there. It was like about $40, and I was like, "Yep, fuck it, he's got it." I took it home, so immediately as soon as I brought that home, Noah's running around the house. Traitor! It was amazing. It was great. But I'm like I said, I've never seen some of these toys in any other store, and that one had to come home.
I was looking for blasters when I went around. There are none. They don't do blasters. I don't know why, but the lightsabers cool. The stunner things.
Well,
cool,
that's all right. That's the last thing we can move on to, because we're going to shut this thing down here.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch more vendors in the alley that you can see with pets, and
there's a lot of shit in there that you can see.
Yeah, I mean, random clothing if you want like some turban-looking leather brown hat, and there's a lot of
all
stuff
the
like
garments
that.
you see in the movies is here. You just got to find it,
and all the garments you see on the staff. The Disney cast members that are playing in there,
can go buy.
You can also buy, yeah.
But and there was like little things like artwork. Like I saw like chiseled into stone, Jabba and his menagerie. Kind of, I didn't look how much it was. It was a lot. But
it was a lot. Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot.
You can find a lot of shit like that. You can just go buy the shit. But like the last two things, I'll drop off on this one, only because we weren't going to do it right away, and then my daughter was like, I can squeeze another $100, and this was after I went and built a lightsaber. She wanted to build a droid.
Okay, so build your own droid. Yep.
So let's do that one first, because the lightsaber is us.
$100. You can build your own droid. It's roughly a foot tall, and it's thematic, but you can mix elements. So there's BB-8. Ish droid, there's an R2D-ish droid, there's an astromech that I think based on what John told me is called R5. Yeah. It's sort of it has like a more cylindrical shape and then like a flat head, and
it's the one from New Hope when Luke's like, Uncle Owen, this one's got a bad motivator. It's R5D4. Yeah, it's like that version. He's there,
and then there's one more that I forgot what it was in that cage. From parts you can pick. So you sort of pick a theme, but after the theme, you can sort of customize the colors and the pieces that you want on it after that. So you can make a BB-8 that's purple, as
like my daughter did, and she named it BB Grape.
But you can also make a BB-8 that has a weirdly flat head, I guess, and
much like I think Last Jedi had one like that.
Yeah, so you can mix pieces up to an extent.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so the last thing we have to talk about is also involving mixes pieces up to an extent.
Now the droid part though, you got to realize like when you pick them all, and then you go to the assembly table, and this whole thing leading into the next part, it's all immersive. So like they're talking to you like, all right, you're building your droid, it's your own personal droid, and you have an attachment to it, yada yada, whatever. And they help you, but they kind of walk away and let you do your own thing. So you follow the instructions and you build it, and then they activate it. They help you activate it together, and they activate it with the remote control. So that basically all they're doing is syncing it to the remote control. But they activate it, and you're watching the droid come to life right in front of you. So right there, it's like, and it starts moving.
Yeah. So it's sort of forward, back, left, right, some beepy noises.
A bunch of shit.
To be real generous and honest, it's probably like a $50 remote control thing, but it's Star Wars themed.
So you paid $100.
You made it yourself, and they charge you $100 for it, and it'll probably feel worth it if you do it.
Yeah, again, like my daughter did it, but like she told you before we started recording, she was like smiling, giddy ear to ear the whole time she did it. So yeah, it was totally worth it. She got it, so it was cool.
Okay,
so then we'll go on to the last thing before we shut this thing down.
Super duper spoiler. Building lightsaber.
Fucking lightsaber.
So
Savi's workshop.
So, and they're gonna pretend if you ask where this place is, or you try to ask them about building lightsaber,
nobody knows.
Nobody knows, but they're all gonna talk to you about scrap metal. Did you mean scrap metal? You want to do some scrapping, and so they'll send you to a place where you do scrap metal. Air quotes here.
Yeah, they vaguely point you in the right direction. You got to be pretty much a retard not to kind of figure out what the hell they're doing. So, because they're immersing you in this world.
It's outside one of the shops, which I think is called Doc Ondo's.
Yes, but that's actually, if you go there, that's where it's in between that and the droid shop. It's like kind of hidden right in between those two.
It is.
Because when you go into Doc Ondo's, that's where you actually get like the other crystals and shit. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll get to that in a second, but you're going to find a random spot out sort of in the open on the side of a building.
Under some umbrellas and a couple of cast members sitting there.
And there's going to be a bunch of sort of ringed rock seating areas that don't quite make sense, but you might see a bunch of people there. That's probably Savi's workshop. You can go up to it. You'll definitely see some pictures of lightsabers here and there. But if you ask about lightsabers, they're going to say something to you about scrap metal. So you might as well not ask about lightsabers.
And when we were there, it had to be by appointment.
Yeah. So we did not have that. So you were able to make an appointment, but if they had an opening, they would let you come in. And so when I first got there, it was daytime and it was full. But I was thinking at the time, I'm not going to do this. It's not worth the money. And I was like, I just want to take.
Me.
Yeah, and I was like, can I just take pictures of the pieces and stuff? And they're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Don't let any stormtroopers catch you with your data pad there. It was fine. So they let me take pictures of all the drawers that had the pieces of the lightsabers, like all the different elements. So I took a bunch of pictures of those. I'll post those on the spoiler thing. But that was that, and I thought, well, I'm just going to walk away. And then when it started to get dark, and we weren't quite sure what rides we were doing or whatever, we had kind of done what we wanted to, and then I was talking to my wife and my oldest daughter, and I was like, well, I would build a lightsaber. It's probably the only thing I've ever been excited to do in my whole life, but it's not worth $215 because that was the price at Disneyland. I know it was $200 for you at Disney World, but it's really probably not worth that. I'm not going to do it. And then they gave me this whole fucking thing about, oh, your birthday's coming up in 10 days, and because my birthday's August 18th, so they're like, your birthday's coming up, and
everybody's saying happy birthday to Eric.
Yeah. And so they're like, you've never said any time in your whole life that you were excited about something until now. They're like, you should just do it. And I'm like, it's $200. I'm not doing it. Like, I'm done. And so they seriously guilt tripped me for like an hour into, you should just go back there and do it. So that's when I decided, not that I was going to do it, but I said, I'm going to go back there at night because I should see it at night. But at that point, I already had permission to buy the saber. So when I got up there, and I took Ethan with me, but when I got up there and they were like, well, we still have a couple slots open if you want to get in. I'm like, okay, take my money. But to be honest with you, So I would say the saber is not worth $200. It's cool. If I were to buy it on a shelf in a store,
it's definitely worth more than the plastic shit you're thinking of.
Well, sure. Maybe I'd pay $100 for it. Maybe I'd pay a little more, but not $200.
Yeah.
But combined with the ridiculous experience of making it, like the whole thing, okay, fine, have my money.
Yeah.
And so that's how I felt. And so, super spoiler alert.
All right, super spoiler alert. What?
Lightsaber experience. That's what we're going to do next. So, once you've navigated your way to this bizarro, unmarked desk, and they talk to you about scrapping or whatever the hell it is, and you wait for probably 20 plus minutes to get inside.
Yeah, no shit. It was like way beyond anything I thought.
Yeah. So here's what you're gonna have to do. First, there are 4.
We skipped one part.
Yeah.
Because this is my highlight of the whole night. What I want to caveat all of this with is one thing that I don't agree with the parks is you've already paid how much to get into the park?
At most $150 if you did a single day.
All right.
But even if you have a pass, I mean, you could be looking at $80+ bucks.
All right. You're here now if you want to build a droid. Now, mind you, all right, you always know you're going to pay for food. I got that. Even still, the food is pricey, but all Disney food is pricey. That's a separate argument for another night that we'll never win. When you get to the fact that this overall park has 2 rides, one is down until they figure out the logistics of it. Your only other 2 experiences are droid building, lightsaber building. Droids, $100. And this is at employee discount. Never mind what you paid. Lightsaber, $200. That's where I start to have a little bit of an issue.
So, for what it's worth, droid building was also $100 for us.
Okay.
So I don't know if you paid less, maybe, but
it's just under $100. But
yeah,
I'm rounding up for
employee discount would have been 80 something, maybe.
No, kind of.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it plays out that way. And then the lightsaber was $215 for the normal public park. Yeah,
but this is the only negative takeaway I have from this entire experience is your major attractions. You have 2 rides. One is down for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so
and then your other 2 attractions out of the 4, are pay and they're hefty.
Yeah, it is definitely pay for play sort of.
and it's not like dropping like.
I'd say if you want to experience the full thing, right? I mean, the vast majority of everything we've talked about with characters and rising moons and bright suns, and it's all free. But
sure,
we have to pay to get in the park, which will, worst case, cost you $150. If you do a single day pass in either of the parks to go do this. But so then after you get inside, you're going to have a whole bunch of problems. Before you're done spending. Problems before you're done spending, I mean. So you're going to have to pay $100
Which
to make
is the part that I wanted to bring to our fans. So I want to be honest about the
So
whole
you're
thing.
$150 in if you walk in the entrance and you go straight to the park.
Yeah.
Straight to the land. I shouldn't say park. Straight to the land. The Galaxy's Edge land. And then if you want to build a droid, you're $100. So now we're at $250. If you want to build a lightsaber, it's another $215. So now you're at $465. Yeah. If you've done both,
never mind what you've eaten.
Yeah, if you've done both those activities, you have also eaten 2 meals there, and meals are roughly 30 to, we'll just say 30, 40 a person, and that's a drink and the food. So if you're going by yourself, you're probably looking at a minimum of $60 for food by the time you've done those other two things. And then you're going to want to ride the Millennium Falcon. That's another 45 minutes. If you want to do the collectors...
Now, the Falcon that ride is free.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. But at least for us... I just want
to be clear to what's going on here.
At least for us, in the line is where they sold like the branded Dasani water and the Coca-Cola and the Sprite.
Yeah.
And so if you want one of those, you're looking at $5.50 a pop. So 13.5 ounce drink at $5.50 a pop. And if you're waiting 45 minutes in line, you're probably going to buy one. But, I mean, it's minimal expense compared to what we've been talking about. Overall, you're at $150 plus $100 for the droid. It's $250 plus $215.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we've been talking about how great this experience is. I want to let everyone know.
Yeah, if you really want to enjoy everything we did, and you want to spend 6+ hours there, which you probably do if you want to do everything we did and check out the shops. Souvenirs aside, you're looking at about a $500 to $600 investment.
Yeah.
One day.
I can tell you right now,
it's really a quarter of a day, but one day.
Employee discounts, so free admission and whatever her discounts got us everywhere else, right? And not even her receipts, because she paid $100 for the droid. I didn't bother looking at her receipts. Just mine alone. And again, I kind of went way overboard. Well, I went well beyond what I thought I was going to spend here, because I kind of went nuts as a Star Wars fan, right? I bought souvenirs for Noah, this, that, whatever. I dropped, lightsaber included, somewhere between $350 and $400.
Yeah, I think
that's beyond park admission because I didn't pay it.
Yeah, so I went there in the day with a family of 5. So we did a 2-day park pass. So it was like $100 a day for the entry. But I mean, that alone is $1,000. And then we did a lightsaber experience. But we shared it, which they allow you to do. Me and Ethan did the lightsaber together.
Yes, yeah. Jessie was with me, and she actually recorded me doing it because
I did the building. I picked the pieces, and we took pictures of that. And then when it came to the interactive part of the sticking it in the thing, and I let Ethan do all that, and then I videotaped him doing it. So
I did all of it because she already knew I was going to kill her if she tried to.
Yeah. Well, I wanted Ethan to do something. I wanted him to enjoy. He enjoyed it without touching it, but you know,
Noah would have been different.
Yeah.
Jessie's not.
I was just like, sort of.
Jessie liked the experience and she was excited to see it, but she's not as big a Star Wars fan. Yeah. If it had been Noah, I'd have let him. I would have personally let him do the whole thing.
Well, so I built the hilt, and I wouldn't let him have a say. But after that, I let him do the thing. I let him put it in the chamber and do the light up and pick it up after.
Okay, so you did putting it into the chamber.
No, he did. He did.
Well, I mean, like, but you as a customer put it in the chamber. For us as cast members, they backed us up, and the cast members put it into the chamber.
Oh no! Yeah, that was the same. It was the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so the same people that came up with the pick your.
So right up until that point, he did it, and then.
So I built the hilt. I built the whole hilt, and they said put the hilt on the stand. I did that, and they came around with these weird hexagonal containers, and they said pick your kyber color, the crystal color, and they told you what each crystal was about, blah blah blah.
Yeah, they did a whole thing about that.
Yeah, and so I took the blue crystal. Ethan wanted me to take the green, but I took the blue crystal, and so I put that in there. And then that point, they were like, back up. And then the people came around and stuck it in the thing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but so after that, then they said, okay, approach your bench, grab your handle.
Yes.
That's where I let Ethan step in.
Before we get into that,
yeah.
For us, it was flipped.
Oh, really?
They've switched this experience now where you pick the kyber crystal first.
Okay.
And it sits in the chamber next to the stand for the hilt. And then they bring you the hilt because you've already picked what you're going to be. And you do like you. For us, it was power and control. Because, I don't know if I've said this already, but at the time when we were doing this thing, Heather decided to take Noah out because it was just me and Jesse. So they went out, but they were having a really hard time kind of like doing anything because this was closed and that was closed and part of this was open, whatever. So wherever they went around town was just not good. So she shot me a text literally right before I went in there. She was like, well, Mom, Sunday kind of shot because whatever. I said, all right, you know what? I'll make it up to him because I was going in there with my own agenda. I was going to do my own thing. I said, I'll make it up to him because he's my boy and I love him. Tell him I'm walking in right now. What color kyber crystals should we pick? And at the time, I didn't know what was available, but I did know that there was going to be like a red, a blue, or a green. So I said red, blue, green. This kid fired back immediately. Red. I said, that's my little Sith. All right. We're going red. So because he said red, when they said pick your casing, what lightsaber you're going to build, well, fuck it. Let's go as close to, by memory, I can get to a Sith lightsaber. So
right.
Power and control. I got the little pin, power control, whatever. I go in. Just so happened that when you walk in, the table is like an oval.
Yep.
Right? Me and the guy next to me, both power control. Everybody else, whatever, right? There was somebody, later on we realized there was one more guy way over there, right? But he and I, power control, look at each other. He was like, hell yeah. Dab me. Like, all right, let's go. He was like, what made you pick that? I said, my kid, he can't be here. So, like, nice. All right. So they do the whole speech that we're going to get into, whatever. And you pick the copper crystal first when we were doing it. Like they walk out with it.
It was complete opposite for us.
Yeah. So they've switched it from then. And I don't know if it's a display thing that they figured out that maybe it's better in the beginning, but they've done it in the beginning now. You pick it out first, and it sits there next to it, and then you build the saber, and then they do all that shit. So now let's go into more of the experience itself.
All right, so
you're in Savi's workshop, but it's not Savi. He's just the owner of the workshop. It's just whoever this dude is.
Yeah, you never see Savi. So his agent, maybe is the right way to say it. Yeah. Like a person that is representing him.
And this is, I'm going to let you run with it because I can't fucking talk. But the one thing I really noticed was what I said before, the blur of cast member and actor.
Yeah, so...
Right? So you had a handful of cast members, but the guy that's talking to you when you walk in, that's one of the actors. That's like if you go to Frozen or whatever and you see a show, so that's this guy.
So our guy was wearing like some weird combination of like brown leather and like
some goggles
dusty...
on his head.
Goggles. Yeah. Exactly, goggles. Yeah. And they were offset. They were like to the right.
Yeah.
Or something. To the left, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't matter what direction.
You're on the right.
They were like skewed to one side, and he had sort of like a dusty, Tatooine-ish outfit you'd think you'd see.
Yeah.
It was sort of a mix-up between... what's the weird old lady with a big...
Maz.
Yeah, Maz. Yeah, it was sort of a mix-up between Maz and like the original guy you see in Episode 4 when they go to Tatooine the first time.
Yeah.
It was good, though. It was good. It was done really well. And so... we were sitting at the gate to walk into the room where you build it, and he sort of did this aside thing where he was asking about, like, in a really indirect way about, like, spies and stuff, and, like, who didn't actually come here for scrap metal.
He's really good about incorporating the script into improv.
Yeah.
Because, like, when he got to our end of the table, he was like, right away, like, he looked at both of our pins. Because what you do is you wear a pin over your heart.
Yeah, so when
supposed
you
to connect you to the kyber crystal.
Yeah, so when you pay up front before you ever sit down to go in this thing. But the only thing you have to, at least for us, I hope that it was the same for you, the only thing you have to pick when you pay is which theme of hilt you're going to go with.
Yeah.
And so you can either pick sort of a nature-esque, sort of a dirty dark
which is cool because I
nature.
kind of want that one too. Cause it's got,
yeah, I do too.
It's got the Rancor.
Yeah,
too.
there's like Rancor parts to it. Like a Rancor tooth is one of the elements.
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff to it that's kind of cool. And then there's the Peace and Justice, I think was what it was called.
Essentially you have like the light side, dark
it was
side.
Very
and
much.
You have...
It was very much Luke, Obi-Wan sort of style lightsaber. It's clean, it's metallic, and it has a little bit of black and a little bit of silver-ish. Not silver, but like...
No, that was yours.
Yep.
And then you have the power and control.
There's power and control, which is basically a Sith saber. Because for each of these, there's at least 2 parts for every piece of the saber. Yeah. So, like, you have like a...
You have the main shaft.
Yeah.
That'll be used out of context later. You're welcome.
You have the main shaft part, which holds the kyber crystal.
Which is cool.
The center piece.
That part in and of itself is cool because the kyber crystal slides into the center of this thing. Because what they do is
it lights up and it makes a noise when you stick it in there.
Yeah. Well, so does she. Anyway, walk it back.
If she did.
Well, no. If she makes a noise when you stick it in there, she's doing it right. Anyway.
I mean, lights too, though? I mean.
Well, you know, if you got the right one.
You should marry her.
Walk it back. For me, they first brought out the kyber crystals, right? So they're in this chamber and they're all lit up. You pick your colored crystal. When you pull it out, because the light is from the inside of this chamber that they're holding, it dies for the moment.
Yeah.
And it'll light up again for you when you bond with it in the ceremony or whatever. But you pick your crystal and you pull it out. But they're all lit, so they're walking around with these containers of multicolored lit crystals, and you just pick yours. And then that's when you get your hilt. You slide the kyber crystal in, and then you've got a couple. The standard one is the pieces that go around the crystal that kind of encase it.
So there's the central part around the crystal, of which I think there was 2 choices. And they had like a red and a blue square on the sides that fit into the crystal chamber or something.
Yeah, you knew where to line them up.
Yeah, and then next you had to pick the upper and lower piece of the shaft, of which I'm pretty sure there were 2 of each based on the theme you picked. There were at least 2 pieces of each, and so for me, I had like this really weird metallic cylindrical piece that had all these strange symbols on it, and it's funny how they integrate it. But stop there for a second. But there was a bottom piece that was more like a handle with like black rubbery, like squarish pieces on it that they also had, and so I picked both of those, and I did one on the top, one on the bottom. But so at that point, the storyteller, the person who's helping you sort of design this saber, came over and said, "Hey, do you know what all these symbols mean on the piece you picked, like on the top piece?" And of course I have no idea, and the guy next to me is kind of being a dick, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know what that says," you know, and then he makes something up, and I forget what he says, but the way the crew members, the cast members handled it was perfect. And, you know, he said, "Oh yeah, that means I forget what he said, but he just said something dumb like, I'm a super Jedi," or something stupid, you know. And the cast members were like, "You can read this glyph? Like, none of us know any idea. We don't have any idea what this says. How do you know that?" Like, they like made it a thing, you know what I mean?
They
like,
improv the hell out of it.
Yeah, they did. They really did, you know. And he's like, "Oh, that means blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. I can't believe you know that." And so I'm going to backtrack slightly, because you have that app where you can translate stuff. And if you were paying attention in that room, those letters, those translatable letters, are everywhere in that room. Mm. They're all over, like, do you remember there were like safes behind you, like big green boxes with those weird letters. They actually say stuff. And so after that guy made up whatever my hieroglyph said on my lightsaber, you know, it's like a circle symbol with dots on it. It doesn't actually say anything because nobody knows, because they made it up but it doesn't matter. But so after he said that, I was kind of thinking, "Oh, Ethan, can we translate any of this?" You know, and I'm like, "Pop out your phone, bro." And so he pulled out his phone, and I was like, you can't translate anything that's on the hilt. It's not on the thing. But behind me was this big greenish metal safe, and it had a bunch of those characters on it. And I was like, oh, I recognize that one. That's an A, that's a U. I was like, I couldn't spell it out though. I'm like, stick it in there. And he starts punching it in, and it said something weird, like, it was like death inside, don't open or something. It was something bizarre, right? I was like, okay, that's
it was a Walking Dead reference.
Yeah,
nice.
It was something really bizarre. We're like, okay. And then I said it to the cast member, and they ignored me, like I didn't actually say it. They were like,
Nice.
And then I was like, Ethan, do that one over there, and it was like caution, toxic gas is what the other one said. Again, they were like, we just trade metal here. They're just playing dumb. They might not know what it said, but it was just kind of fun. And then I realized at that point that that Saber experience was not the only place that there was bizarro signs that you could translate, and they would say something funny.
That'd be awesome.
But anyway, so yeah, that was our thing with the experience. And then once you built the whole hilt, then they have you put it in that.
Well, they had us back away, right?
Yeah, well, you're right.
Because the whole time, this actor, whatever his name is, he's telling you about the history of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah, so I skipped a part. I did, yeah.
So he's going through this whole spiel, and again, that's why I say he's an actor and not a cast member, because he's got this speech memorized. He's doing this whole speech about history of the Jedi and what they mean and this whole thing. And again, God, not to sound like a fucking crying fanboy, but to be a crying fanboy, in that moment, you're like, holy shit, this is amazing. He wraps you into it, and he just twists you into like you're there. And he's talking to you about you're literally hiding from the First Order and reigniting the spark that's going to fight for the rebellion or whatever.
You are the second to last Jedi at this point of the story, right?
Yeah, so. You are there. And then you finish building your lightsaber, and they say, okay, this is an important part of this process. You need to step back, and we're going to help you set it into the activation chamber. Now, mind you, anyone who's seen a plastic lightsaber toy that your kids got, some of them, there's got a plastic blade on it. Some of them extends out, and there's multiple plastic pieces, whatever. You're building a hilt, and it's nothing but a hilt. So, sorry. Going into it, you're trying to figure out how the hell they're doing this, right? So they tell you to step back, and while you're standing there, they say to the right of you is the activation chamber, and I caught on right at the last second, but it's kind of a cylindrical part of the table that's right next to every station.
Yep.
So when you step back, the people come around, the girls came around, they grab your saber, and they put it into the activation chamber and give it a little twist, which end of the illusion will lock that plastic blade in. So it puts it in there, and then, all right, so he's doing this whole speech, and as he's talking, all of a sudden, like Eric said, the lights go out, and there's maybe some vague lights around the wall, kind of illuminating the wall,
and they're
spectral.
And they're greenish.
Yeah, there's a spectral green light going around the wall. And then you start to hear Yoda. And Master Yoda talks for a little while about whatever. And then the actor, thank you, Master Yoda, whatever, he talks to him. And then, okay, we're going to count down. And when we count down, we need to do this all at once. Everyone's got to ignite them at the same time. And they count you down, and you all ignite your lightsabers at the same time. And I'm going to let you know right now, I'm 44 fucking years old. He's laughing because he knows. When that moment hit, right before that moment hit, I was fucking 10 years old again. And everybody at the same time, kind of the activation chamber slid apart. And yeah, you can see the tube there. but you're not paying attention to that part anymore. You're just focusing on what this guy's saying to you. And you grab the hilt, and he's telling you, all right, 3, 2, 1, and everybody picks a lightsaber up at the same time and hits it. And the entire room lights up with like almost nothing but lightsaber blades.
Yep.
And it's fucking amazing.
It is.
It's incredible. So, and that's pretty much where we have to leave you at that point. If anything else has not brought you to this fucking park yet, and I've said like, hey, you know, you overpay for some of this shit. Damn, it was worth it. To me, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. It's 100% worth the 200 and whatever bucks. Go in there and make this fucking lightsaber. When you've been watching all the movies and reading all the books and whatever, it's going to blow your fucking mind. And that's the point of the whole world. When you get in there, it's going to blow your fucking mind.
It is.
So no matter what you do, whether or not you build a lightsaber, cool. We wanted to leave you on that one point because to both of us, it was like epic.
And so if you really don't want to spend more than the entry fee, you can buy an El Cheapo lightsaber. And it's worth noting that Disney is a bunch of assholes. Because when you get out of that, you get to pick one lightsaber color, one kyber crystal. When you get out to the what is it called? Do you remember?
I don't.
There's a shop right outside.
Just outside the
workshop.
lightsaber place, yeah.
It's called like Doc Condor's Antiquities or some bullshit like that.
It's literally right next door.
Yeah, and so at that point you can get more kyber crystals if you want. But in Disneyland, they used to have standalone kyber crystals, $12.95 a piece. I would have bought every color.
Well, now maybe we should flip that over because here, start with here first because here, it's still the cast member experience. Yeah. So
maybe you should go here first.
Yeah, I went and I bought purple and green, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll come back and buy the rest right now." Because again, I spent way more than I thought I was going to.
So you got two colors for $12.95 a piece on the little cylinders.
They were about $14 a piece. So they were a little bit more. So they bumped them up a little bit.
Well, so
they were like little cylinders.
Yeah, with gray caps on the ends.
Yep.
And they had the kyber crystal inside.
But they did have what you're about to talk about next to it.
Well, so in Disneyland when they first opened, they had that, and you had the 4 colors you could pick in the experience, which were green, blue, yellow, and purple, and red. No, there's 5.
Yeah.
Green, blue,
yellow, purple, red.
And so when you went into the Antiquities joint, you had 2 more colors beyond that, which were white and black.
And in Disney World, I only saw white. I didn't see black.
But so here's the catch at Disney.
Because that probably would have dropped about $100.
Yeah, no shit. So here was the catch at Disneyland. For every kyber crystal you want, and they're only $12.95 each, you have to buy a holocron. And the holocrons are $50 a pop. So
we'll post a picture of that on the website.
Yeah, I will.
Because you got to see it.
Yeah, I have some here.
Just to see them, they're cool.
They have Sith holocrons. They have Jedi holocrons. They change color based on the crystal you put inside them. They change noises based on the
you touch your hands to certain parts of them.
Yeah,
and twist them around, kind of like.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But so I don't know what. Oh yeah, so Disneyland, you had to buy a holocron at $50, and then you were allowed to buy 1 kyber crystal with it.
To go with
that was it, max 1. So you could buy a holocron and nothing, or a holocron and 1 color crystal. So I went ahead and got the green because Ethan wanted me to pick the green when I did the build, and I said nope, I'm doing blue. But so you want to get green, so I got green. So I regret not getting the black, which would have cost me no different amount of money, and I'm sure it's going to be gone in a year from now. I should have bought it, but I didn't. So
yeah, I didn't even see it. So now,
but at Disney World, they don't have the black, but then you don't have to buy the holocron to get the crystals. So,
which makes me wonder how much has been transferred over as far as like knowledge.
Oh yeah, so
one park to another.
Also worth talking about at Disneyland. Since they've opened, they've had so many sellouts of the souvenirs that they've started limiting them. So
I've heard about that, yeah.
Every single person is... If you go up to the register and it's just you, you're only allowed to buy one of each item.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how much it costs, doesn't matter if it's a $10 pin. If there's one of you, you're only allowed to have one of them.
They already started that down here.
Yeah, so...
so they have not built enough to...
Yeah, so they said they didn't start that way, but people were buying out entire stockpiles of everything from kyber crystals to
you
pins.
Can't find this shit anywhere else.
And they said everybody was buying it out, so we had to have a way to control it, so we decided that one... For every person that's at the register, you can have one of each item. And I'm like... I said to Marissa, not like thinking I knew something, I said, well, that doesn't apply to like pins and bullshit. They just mean that for like, for the lightsaber stuff and the weapons. And the guy was like, no, it's everything. Like if you had come, because I had 2 pins. So they were have you ever seen those boxes of random pins? You don't know what's inside? I have 2 of them. And he said, if you had come up here without her, I would have made you put one of those random boxes back. I'm like, are you serious? Like, it's a random item.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they don't care anymore.
Yeah. He's like, we just can't keep the stockpile full if we don't do that.
Yeah, no, they don't. They got to get more people building them. Sorry. They got a lot of demand. A lot.
All right. So I think we covered everything. There's nothing more to cover except come to Florida and go to the park with one of us, and you can... That
would be the end result of this whole thing, and I'm pretty sure, like, by the time I get done editing this, we have tied our end game video or audio. So
tied my ass. It's 2 hours, man.
No, that was 2 hours too. It was over 2 hours.
I know.
When we sat there and talked for end game, it was a while. This one's about right there. We gotta edit out this bullshit, but I think we're tied, or we barely beat it. Either way, so new record, Galaxy's Edge. So yay! Hit us up. Let us know if you want to hit it up, and we'll go together. I'll go out there with you. We'll have a blast. I'll take some pictures with you. They'll mean nothing to you in about 5 years.
I have a season pass, so I am happy to go because it doesn't cost me a dime.
Yeah. And you'll take pictures and be like, "Hey, look, I took these pictures with these guys from."
I may not buy a lightsaber or eat any food, but I'm there.
I took pictures with these guys from this podcast that no, they've grown nothing at all. So it's cool. Yeah. So you can take pictures with guys that like. You might as well take pictures with the guys that clean your car down the street. It's cool. But hit us up and let us know what you think. This is the unofficial, right before they open up Galaxy's Edge, Walt Disney World in Florida kind of preview. And hit us up. We are at whatifgeeks@gmail.com, www.whatifgeeks.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Hit us up, and we will be here, and tell us what else you want to talk about. We will be partaking in all the parks coming up soon, because apparently I've got another daughter, foreign exchange student, that I have to go tour around Florida. So she wants to see everything, so I'm going to be taking her around everywhere, so that will come up in future episodes, that we hit Universal and Lego and Gatorland and all that shit. So, yep, let us know what you think. We will catch you later. All right, good night, Tony.
Good night, Ma.